And we are live. Hi, everyone. Thanks for coming along on your Saturday night with me. I got one email from someone who said this is the best date she has had. So I am so honored that you chose to spend your Saturday night here with me. And if you're watching it on the replay, welcome. And you'll get all of the answers and you get a chance to see all this when I get the replay up. So all right. So I have got a bunch of questions. I got a lot of responses. I'm going to try and go a little bit quicker. You know, that's not usually easy for me. I like to make sure you get the full extent of my answers to you. So, but I'm going to try because I want to make sure to cover as many of you as I possibly can on here. It's been a while since I've done one of these. I'm excited to be back. So, yeah, so I'm excited to be here and to answer your questions. And we can start with the chat. Tell me where you are watching today. Where are you tuning in from in the world? Let's see, where are we? I know it's the middle of the night in Europe and most of those places. I was on a call with someone earlier today and we were talking about that. So it's the middle of the night some places, but I know other places, this is your evening, your Saturday night. And for others of you who are, oh, perfect. Thanks. So I have one comment that my face is cut off on her screen and she's wondering if it's just her screen. So is this happening to anyone else? Is my face cut off? Or can you see me okay? If you can see me okay, then let me know. If you're having some issues with how this is streaming, let me know. And I'll try and figure it out because we can't have half of me here. Well, you get the audio anyway, so that's the main thing. Okay, we're good for Star. Hi, Star. I got a question from you coming up. So hi from LA. My old stomping ground over there in Manhattan Beach and right across from UCLA, a long time ago then. No worries. I always like to know, Magdalena, if there is if there's any issues. So I'm glad it's just your screen and hopefully you can figure that out. But yeah, nice to see you from Calgary. Yeah, my Canada. So okay. Well, I'm going to jump in here. Feel free if you're here from somewhere else to jump in and tell me where you are. And yeah, I love knowing where I'm reaching you, where I'm coming to you today. All right. So I'm going to start with Elizabeth had a question. So Elizabeth, are you here? If you're here, I'm answering you first. And if you're not, if you're going to get this on the replay, then you will get that on the replay here. So Elizabeth, I'd saved up Elizabeth because she had sent me one a couple of weeks ago, and I was saving it up for this one. So Elizabeth had a really good question that I think a lot of us are going to be interested in. Elizabeth writes, hi, Jane. I want to ask why men only seem to answer half or less than half of what we might ask them in an email or a text which requires a response. Okay, so she's talking about emails here. My emails are not loaded with questions, but so often my man writes a couple of lines. He prefers to communicate during the week via email since he's super busy at work and he works at night as well and grading papers. So no phone calls, but we email 3 times a day. We see each other once a week and we've been dating for 15 months. Okay, so a little over a year. And I find myself writing 3 times the amount. Is it that men are just not into details like women? I know women are far more detail-oriented. Or is it just that he can't be bothered with responding to my email with detail because it could involve a little time and a little effort? It drives me bananas sometimes. I feel like I am talking to a robot. Our synergy is like night and day in person. It's so much better. But since we only see each other once a week, the rest of the week is frustrating. We get along very well. And when we get together, I feel like the robot is gone for a while. Good. It's almost like sometimes I feel he doesn't answer me because he doesn't want to start a conversation around anything or engage in anything. It's always just short and sweet and often so dry that it becomes so unsatisfying and actually leaves me unfulfilled since his preference is email and not the phone. Okay. Yes, I usually write a lot more, have a lot more to say, and men are more succinct, but gee whiz, I feel like I'm talking to a wall half the time. Thank you, Elizabeth. Okay, Elizabeth, I I read yours and I was like, wow, this is going to be good for my life because I hear this a lot. I hear you're not alone on this one. So part of it is I want to answer this a bunch of ways because first, there is generally most men, and I don't like to generalize completely, but generally speaking, the majority of men are not going to be all into communicating a ton, whereas you write paragraphs and you write all the detail in an email. They are not going to be generally that responsive or that detailed and just talky on on email or and especially not text. But they are generally going to save more of that for in person, but you're probably not going to get a ton in person. Okay, so yeah, yeah, I knew Elizabeth, you weren't going to be alone on this one, and so I'm seeing that in the chat here. Yeah, I mean, I would guess almost every one of you on here would agree, right? Because that's the thing, right? It's frustrating, right? In person, it's awesome, but when you're not in person, it can make us feel really anxious, really insecure that, oh no, something's wrong because he's not communicating that much. He's not talking that much to you. And or it's more just quick answers, right? And so it's like until you see him again in person, it's like what's wrong? And nothing is wrong. So that is the first thing I want to say, okay? If you are finding that in person you get a lot more than you do on the phone or especially email, text, if everything is fine in person, then do not jump to the conclusion that there's something wrong because there is almost always nothing wrong when you've got that confirmation when you're in person. Okay, that's the point. If it's not great in person and it's not great over email or text or whatever and just communication in general, then you've got something to look more into. I mean, obviously you need more communication. You need something if you enjoy that communication yourself. So that is what you want to check for. So that's the first part of it. Okay. Generally, yeah, you're going to want to talk more. You're going to want to say more. What I say to this, my best advice on this really is to talk to your girlfriends. I have a really, I know a lot of women who have successfully found someone and they're really great communicators, but I'll say this about my husband too. I mean, we love to talk. I mean, conversation is like my favorite thing with him is the communication, but I will say this, generally speaking, he is not a big email and texter guy, much prefers either on the phone or in person, right? And this was the same that caused a whole lot of, and can cause a whole lot of question marks, right? When you're dating and you are not with them all the time. And so it can feel like, oh, they're not that interested or, oh, we're not on the same page. And it's not that. So the majority of times, if you can find other places to have your all of your conversations and your communication and your wording, all of those things that you need, if you can get those needs met where you're just chit-chatting about everything, or just if you can find someone in terms of your friends and or family members, or just if you have enough other people to have that communication with, that would be great because then you can save for him like the things that matter, the things where you have questions, right? You need his input on something. You want to know what he thinks about something and you're planning something, or you want to, so be more direct and clear because that is what men respond to. That is more of how they're wired. If you think about the fact that generally speaking, they are used to being the ones who are biologically like out there, right? They're the hunters. They're the ones who, they're more focused. They have the ability to focus so clearly on one thing at a time. And I have seen this firsthand. This causes so much misunderstanding. So for all of you who suffer from because it can feel like a suffering. I mean, it can feel like we're suffering through it because we're with a guy who's great, except he doesn't communicate well. And it feels like we've got so much we want to talk about and so much we want him to share in our excitement of something that happened during the day. We want him to just be all of that, right? And the reality is that there are so many misunderstandings around the fact that a lot of men, especially the really practical, the types of men that we feelers and we talkers, okay, the community, I mean, most of us are communicators, we're nurturers, we're all of that, right? We're in professions that we're doing all this, right? And we care and we're right, we want more information and we want to be able to communicate. We love that communication. And so if you can accept the fact that most of us are attracted to men who are more practical, who are more logical and more to the point, more direct. Okay. I mean, those are all the things we usually love about them. And that's why we're attracted to them in the first place, because they are so different from us. But it is important to remember that this will also show up in differences in communication. So you have to decide, do they have enough of the qualities you love about them that these other qualities are okay, that you can handle the fact that by putting it in a proper perspective so that you don't let it make you anxious, so you don't let it affect you. Can you just accept the fact that this guy is just a little more straight to the point, direct, and he just prefers to talk in person or just over the phone maybe a little bit, but can you accept that about it? I think that's the biggest question to ask from this, because it is going to drive you bananas, as you say. It will affect you. It will make you also feel insecure. It will have all these effects on you if you cannot accept him for the way he is, which means that communication is not going to be his strength. It's not going to be a strong point over email, over text. And so save those for the quicker things. Save your things where you want to talk in depth for the places where he does that naturally. I mean, you could say, because here's the alternative, right? You can hit him over the head with it, and you could literally say, look, like, I need you to be able to communicate more. I need you to, when I email you and I give you paragraphs, I need you to be able to communicate with me. I need you to be able to write back something more to me, because I'm like dying over here waiting for more of your response. I need that. Like, we're not going to be okay if you can't do that. So you could say that to him, and he could try to step it up and do more of that. But I have heard from women, and I've witnessed this with women who are constantly having to remind their guy of this and to ask for this and sometimes demand it, right? And just let him know how frustrating they are with it. And it is awful to be in that position. I know women who have been in that for years. And I know women who've married that, expecting that there was going to be something different, or that it was going to somehow get better when they were living together and married, and it didn't get better. So you have to also know, like, what is your, what is your tolerance for that, right? I mean, how much can you tolerate of that? Because if there is enough of all these other things, and this is usually what my conversations around this come out to, right? Like, how much is there of the other good stuff? How much is there of that? And how much of that can you tolerate before you start to get resentful, and before you start to make this about you and the fact that he doesn't love you enough, or he doesn't care about you enough, or he doesn't, all of that. So I guess I've just seen, having lived through a lot of this myself and ironing this out, and then just seeing it in so many women who come with this concern. And so really you have to figure out what you can accept and what you can't, what you can live with, what you can't. And just know, I mean, the ones who have all the qualities that you're looking for, they may also just, talking over email where there isn't a live person there, that just may not be their thing. And so, yeah, it comes back to, you can tell him about it, and he can step it up, or he can try, and for a little while it'll probably get better. But how long does that continue, right? And how long do you have to keep telling him, and do you have to keep I mean, it can turn into nagging, right? Where you're nagging after him, and that just feels horrible. So just know, most men that we are going to be attracted to as communicators and nurturers and everything that we are, right? And checking the temperature and just wanting the details and just the conversations that we want to have in every format. We are going to attract men who typically have all of these other qualities that are quite different from us, but that will often include that they don't communicate as well as we do over email or on the phone or text. They will do better in person. And so just be clear on what you can handle that, because and don't take it personally. Do not take it personally. I probably spend half my day talking about how not how to actually embrace not taking it personally for you, because saying don't take it personally and actually not taking it personally are just two really different things. So it's something to work through. Like, if it's not personal, it's going to feel personal. It isn't. So how do you figure that out? How are you able to not take it personally? What does that look like for you? Because to just say, I mean, it's so cliche, right? Don't take it personally, right? But I want to embody, like, I want to make that come alive for you. What does it mean to not take it personally? And what that means is that you recognize that whether or not this guy chooses to just write, like you said, write a couple of lines because he's super busy, whether making that about you, right? Like, he can't be bothered to write more. He can't be bothered. He doesn't care enough about you that he isn't prioritizing or writing more like that. Well, you can go down that path and you can say that, and you can call up all your girlfriends and they can all be like, yeah, I mean, he should be caring about you. You should be more of a priority. But at the end of the day, if you have a guy who is busy, who's super focused, right? If his personality, and I know these personality, if he is super focused on one thing at a time, and when he focuses, he gives something its full attention, and his full attention. And when he is focused on something else, if he's grading papers or whatever he's doing, if he is not there for you, there is nothing wrong with you. And he is not saying, I don't love you, I don't care about you. He is saying only that when that email came in or whatever that you sent him that you wanted a response on, he was busy doing something, fully focused on that. So he only gave you the one or two lines just to respond, to show you, yeah, I'm responding with something, probably because he picks up on this, that you really want more communication from him. And give him some credit for that. Okay, I'm not saying settle for this. I'm saying if he has enough of the good stuff that you want, if there are enough good qualities here, if there is enough to him, you need to not take this area personally, because it is not personal. And the only reason that it would be indicative of the fact that there is something really wrong in this relationship is if you consistently see that in person that there is the same breakdown in communication. Okay, if that is happening, then sure, worry about it, or talk to him about it. Don't worry about it. Talk to him about it. Figure it out and address it. Be direct. But if it is just this communication issue, don't take it personally and let him be him, because that is some of the best advice you're going to get ever when dealing with someone who you're likely going to be attracted to. Okay, because more often than not, that is the type of guy. All right, so I said I was going to get to more of these. So all right, so hopefully that answers that question, Elizabeth, whenever you get on here. All right. Okay. So my next question came from Gloria, and Gloria wrote in, and Gloria said, Gloria, are you here by any chance? This was one earlier too that Gloria wrote in that I was saving up. I wanted to make sure I answered this one too for. So Gloria wrote in and said she's friends with a Capricorn man, and she's read a lot on him, and everything she's read is true. She met him 3 years ago, and she says, I met him 3 years ago. He's everything I've ever wanted in a man. And when he found me, I was divorced for 7.5 years. I was divorced for 7.5 years, but he was honest with me. He said his job was number one in his life. Okay, so we're talking about priority here. He said his job was number one in his life, and he showed me what type of house he wanted when he retired. And 7.5 years, he said that's why he works so hard. Okay, so he's going to retire, I guess, in 7.5 years. I don't see him every month, but we do see each other. He came for my birthday and said nothing was going to stop him from coming. But of course, he had some work to do. For a while, he's very honest with me. He asked me what we're going to eat or where we're going to eat. He always opens and closes the door for me, always puts his parents first. I told him if he takes care of his mom, I know he'd take care of me. Oh, but he doesn't want a relationship because he doesn't have time for that until he retires. Okay, so he's holding off on you. He's basically saying he doesn't have time for a relationship with you until he retires. He told me that he believes we're going to be together. He's never been married. He doesn't have any kids. He doesn't have any sisters and brothers. He's an only child. My question is, should I believe everything I've read about Capricorn men? Because everything is exactly what he is. He's a very hard worker. He saves his money because he says he does not want to have to meet. He doesn't want to have me have to buy anything. He wants to be able to get anything he wants and go anywhere he wants to and have time for a relationship, because relationships take a lot of time and energy. And that's why he wants to wait until he retires. Okay, Gloria. I have not read up recently on Capricorn men. I used to read up on on every type of man that I was dating. Was my go-to. As soon as I found out when his birthday was, I would read up on them. So I'm not recalling Capricorn men, but I want to tell you, beyond horoscopes and beyond figuring out what these men are like, okay, I will say, you've got a guy who's very clear. He's very direct and very clear. This actually makes it very easy for you. He does not want a relationship with you until he retires. Okay. So the only question you need to know, the only question for you to answer here, can I live with that? Can I live with that? I mean, because that's it. This is, I mean, you've listed his qualities. He's a hard worker. He saves his money. He wants to be able to get what he wants. He wants to be able to do what he wants. He doesn't want you to have to be able to have to pay for everything. He doesn't want to, be reliant on you at all. So basically he takes care of his parents. He's told you his job is. So the only question for you is there enough here for you? Can you wait for him? Sounds like it's 7.5 years till he retires. So can you wait 7.5 years? Can you? That's the question. What I would do is I would set a time limit for yourself. How long would you be comfortable going with this guy? Okay. I mean, because it's not really a relationship. He doesn't want to commit to anything. So you guys, for 3 years, you're basically, he's making clear you're not really in a relationship, right? So the question is, can you continue on doing what you've been doing for the last 3 years since you met him? Can you do that for another 7.5 years? So I would set a time limit to how long you think you can do this for without seriously regretting the time lost. I would set that on your calendar. I would check in with yourself at that point, and I would decide from there what you want to do next. Do you continue and then set another marker? Okay. Or have you had enough? Is this too much? So I would look at that 7.5 years literally as set your markers and then check in with yourself. The only question here is, can you live with the clarity that he has defined of what he's ready for and what he isn't? He has made this really clear. He's made this easy for you. So, well, as easy as possible. I mean, it's still, your heart is going to be in here, and you're because you want everything now. But the bottom line is, he has been clear. He is not dancing around where he's at with that. All right. All right, Gloria. I hope that helps. Thanks, Magdalena. I'm glad glad that last one resonated with you. The first one was Elizabeth. All right. I got another one here. This one is from another Elizabeth. Okay. She writes, question, what does it mean when a man no longer wants to have sex with you, but he's still okay with pleasuring you, but not himself? Yet he emails regularly, takes you out once a week, and you have a fabulous time with him each time, and he keeps coming back. Thank you. Okay. So here's the thing with this. Here's the deal. 2 things. First of all, pressure. There's pressure here that he doesn't want to have, right? So he is okay with pleasuring you. He no longer wants to have sex. So the reason is because then he's going to feel like he owes you something. If you have sex with him, because he's supposed to want to have sex, right? That's the whole programming that we believe so strong. I mean, men have made that clear, right? They want sex. In fact, that's usually the complaint, is most men only want sex and more sex and sex, right? I mean, that's drill. Yeah, you don't need me to explain that. So if he no longer wants to have sex, but he's okay with just pleasure, what that is telling you, he doesn't want to owe you anything. He does not want to feel like you can see if you're having sex with him, then he will feel obligated. If he's a good guy or if he's like a decent guy, he will feel obligated to feel like he is in a relationship with you. So if he is just giving to you, then that takes the pressure off of him, because then he is going to feel like he doesn't owe you the relationship, right? And if he's, especially because if he's just pleasuring you, then it makes it seem like he doesn't, you're giving him more than you're giving, he's giving you more than you're giving him. So then he doesn't feel like he owes you anything, because he's already giving you more than you're giving him. Does that make sense? Because what that means is that he doesn't have to feel bad. I mean, that's what this is about. He doesn't want to have to feel bad. He doesn't want to have to feel like, you're having sex, he's getting sex, so he then should give you more of the relationship, or he should be, in order to feel good about himself, in order to be like the good guy here, he should then be following through with giving you a relationship, or at least you would have reason to believe if you're having sex with the guy and he's a decent guy, then you should be in a real relationship. So it sounds to me like this is a guy who is very clear to keep these distinctions of what the relationship is and what it isn't. So he's making sure that you know that he's not giving that he doesn't owe you anything. Now, the other possibility too, I don't know how old this guy is, but I have worked with a lot of women. I coach a lot of women where there's a hidden piece of this, where the man is your guy is having issues with keeping it up, with erectile dysfunction. Okay. And so if for the older ones of you who have a man who is acting like this, that could also be part of this here, where he doesn't want to feel the pressure physically of having to perform. If he's getting a little older, he may feel pressure. I have had this where men have tried to cover it up, and it never goes well, because the more they're trying to tiptoe around it, the more it's an issue. I mean, honestly, the best thing is if it can, you can talk about it. And I mean, you're more than likely going to care about him enough, especially if this is like a relationship you've been in a while, that you'll be able to talk to him about it. Because that is always the best solution, is when he can actually talk about it and admit it to you, and he feels safe to do so. But it's tricky, it's delicate, because you also don't want to bring it up. Because if he's, so it's something, and we can talk about that. If you have this and you feel really alone in this, I have coached so many women through this and given them, we've gone over different scenarios of how to bring it up and how to talk to them. So this is one I'm well familiar with from my calls, because it's not an easy conversation to bring up if he is not bringing it up. But I have talked with a lot of women. I get women of all ages. And so I definitely have worked with a lot of women who are experiencing this. So don't be alone if you're experiencing this. Reach out, okay, to me. But yeah, that's what I would take it from. It's just the pressure. He does not want to owe you more than he's comfortable with, or there's some pressure, and so there's pressure there because he doesn't want to. Then he has to give you a full-fledged or he will feel bad if he doesn't give you more of a relationship. And then it could also be there's a physical thing going on here as well. All right. So I hope that helps that. And yeah, that makes sense. Okay. All right. So, and hello from Florida, and Lolly from South Africa. I saw yours coming there too. I'm glad you're both here. Okay. D writes to me. I've got a few Ds. So this is one D. D wrote, "Hi, Jane. So I was in a friends with benefits situation last year until I stopped seeing this guy. Initially, I really thought he was serious about me until I realized that was his only intention for me. I was deeply hurt because I was hopeful he saw my value." We're going to come back to that point. "We had great chemistry together, but our conversations always end up with sexual connotations. So I've been missing him a lot, even after a year has passed. And all this time, he's been trying to call and text me through other means or leave voicemail messages, even when I blocked his different numbers many times. What should I do now? He called me just this Monday and he wanted another chance. Should I give him another shot?" Okay. So I'm going to answer this, and then I'm going to come back to the thing that I am taking the most out of here that I want to talk about, the root underneath this. Okay. But what I will say about this, just for to answer you, um, so he keeps coming back because he wants more of the same, right? You don't have any reason to see that he wants anything beyond the friends with benefits. Unless here's the simple way of looking at this. Like, unless you are okay with just being friends with benefits for a certain amount of time, and that would be my advice, that if you really want to see where this, if you miss him that much, there's still more information that you need from him. So if you haven't gotten enough, if you haven't seen enough of who he is based on what you guys have already been through, where you've seen you're friends with benefits, it's sex, he turns everything around to sex. If that is not clear enough for you, then you probably need to give him another chance. You can get over the guy. I mean, some of us need to be hit over the head with it, literally. Some of us do, and there's nothing wrong with that as long as you realize what you're doing, right? You're getting more information. I have coached so many women who, you know, we walk through this, and I'm like, you know what? You need, obviously, if you're still crazy about this guy, if you are still missing him so much, if blocking him hasn't done it, if ignoring him for 2 months while blocked is not doing that, if none of this is helping, then at some point you have to look at the fact that you absolutely have to get some more information so that you can literally, hit yourself over the head with the reality of who he is. Some of us just need that. Some of us will not. We are so stubborn and we dig in. You're talking to one of them, so I get it. And so we dig in and we need to know, we need that information. We need to know. We need to have it so clear, because as soon as we block them, as soon as they're out of our sight, we're like, oh, maybe this is different. Maybe it'll be different. And then we do it again and we do it again. So, I mean, I think it's clear. I mean, I don't think you should have anything to do with the guy. So 2 points. I mean, it's the simple thing. I don't think if you are not looking for just friends with benefits the way he is, clearly, then if you're not looking for that and he is, you guys are not compatible. No matter how you swing it, you are not compatible. But if you miss him so much, and if what you have been through in your lifetime has you unable to see why you two are not compatible, and to have you still holding on to him, okay, and there's no judgment there if that is you, because that's the reality of how most of us are, then, if that is where you are, then you need to get more information. You need to see this. You need to see this through. You need to see this guy, even when you have a little bit more hope, or even when you give him one more chance, this is who he is. So maybe there's more to see. I mean, it's really, if you can't see it, then you're going to have to see it in action. If you have not already had enough from him, then you're going to need more. And that's what you do. And you go into it owning it. Okay, so I'm going to see, because I have more to learn here. I am not clear yet that this guy is on a different page than I am, that we are not compatible, that I need to leave him here and I need to go and look elsewhere for someone who I will be compatible with. If you can't say that, there is nothing wrong with you, because that's programming that creates all kinds of things with our imagination that makes us think this is going to be different this time. But if that is where you are at, then you need to see more information here to be able to finally be done. Because ending, and I talk about this a lot, if you're trying to end this too early before you have all the information that will finally allow you to be free of him, you will keep doing this. You will keep doing the back and forth and the back and forth and the back and forth. As one who has lived this and helped so many of us through this. I mean, this is what happens. We go back and forth. We can do it for months. We can do it for years. Some of us do it for decades. Okay. So really the goal is, how quickly can you move through this and move past this so that you are done? Okay. And so for some of us, The only way to do that is to go back and see what happens, knowing we're there for information, because that is a mind shift to think of it that way. All right. Oh, and then the last thing, Dee, what I wanted to flag there, because you said I was deeply hurt because I was hopeful he saw my value. Okay. I picked that out. I flagged it because that is the root of what is going on here. I was hopeful he saw my value. Okay. You don't get your value from someone like this. You don't get your value from some guy that you're trying to convince of your value. Okay. That's what's going on here. Your value is not found in trying to convince some guy who's his own person, doing his own thing, attracted to what he's attracted to with his own programming, whatever. Okay. You do not get your value from him. You don't. If you are hoping he sees your value, you're going to be hoping for a long time, and you're going to feel valueless. You're not going to feel worthy for a long, long time. Okay. This is totally natural. This is what we do. This is what we've been taught to do. You get the guy who's so hard to get, you're going to prove yourself worthy. You're going to have value. Okay. It's heartbreaking, because that is what is at the root of all of these. We're looking for a guy. We're hoping that this guy is finally going to see our value. Okay. And that is absolutely not the way this works, because you don't go after some, you don't look to prove your value to someone. Someone either sees that the two of you are a match and compatible, and thus he's able to recognize, he's capable of valuing you. Okay. Or you're not compatible. You're not into the same things. You've got differences here, and he's not able to see your value. And if someone isn't able to see your value, that's not on you. It just means different person. You're two different people. You need a different person than that for you to be able to see that compatibility. But it's not going to come from someone who you have to keep hoping that he's going to see your value. Okay. If you have any questions about that, Dee, or anyone else, let me know. Because, and you can book a session with me, and we'll cover everything in a session to go through that, because that is so important. If you don't have that down, that is everything. Absolutely everything. Because we're always hopeful that someone is going to finally see our value. Like, that is the root of everything, because we were set up that way. You're set up that way. Our entire basis of being here in this world, according to how we're brought up, how we're raised by our families and by our culture and everything, is just the default is you're going to prove yourself worthy of some really good guy who you can take home to mom and dad and show that, hey, I got this guy. I was good enough for this guy, right? I mean, that is so heartbreaking. And that happens all the time subconsciously with the men that you pick. We pick. I'm in there too, because that was my life when I was single. So, all right. Okay, Dee, and anyone else. I hope that one helps. I'm glad it resonated. Yeah, Samantha, that's it. Okay. Pamela wrote to me, and she wanted to know if she is ever going to get things caught up and paid. Okay, we're going away from relationships and dating right now, and so that's awesome. You can send me any question. I cover so many things. There's an entire call that I am someone's I'm interpreting. They have a nutritionist, and they have all these different medical people that they've got, and because I've known them so well from the dating and relationship piece, I help interpret that. They have the experts in those fields, and I break it down for them in a way because I know them. So yeah, I do all kinds of things. Job coaching, all kinds of things these days, because when it's really about the relationship. And I will say that to any of you, when you are looking to hire a coach, you often find ones who promise the world, and they have, they charge a fortune for what they do for you. And they're not going to do anything that special more than someone else, but it is all about the connection that you have with someone. because if someone know the value of being known, if you feel known by someone, it doesn't matter how long you have or haven't known them, but that feeling known is everything. And if you feel known by someone, if you feel like they see you, that is everything. You're the one who's going to do that magical stuff in that coaching. They will only be there to reflect back to you because they have had a similar experience, or they see you in a way that they will reflect back to you exactly what you need to be able to get what you need from them, or to get what you are looking for, what you came to them, what you were attracted, and what resonated about them, okay, to you. So that is so important to remember here, as I'm answering this one. But that it's that combination. You bring that. You're the magic. You are that piece of this that is going to have this effect that you're looking for. They on their own, they're not that dynamo. They're not that person who's magically going to do this. It's you in combination with finding that coach or that mentor or someone who resonates with you. That is where the really exciting stuff happens. Okay, but it comes from you, and that match is everything. So to Pamela, who wrote asking if she's ever going to get things caught up and paid. She's got money issues. And she also wants to know when she's going to find that special man that's faithful, honest, and true. Okay, so I will tell you this, Pamela. You keep going with keep doing. Okay, the fact that you're saying here you want to find someone who's faithful, honest, and true. So keep going with eliminating unfaithful, dishonest, and false. Okay, you don't want any of those. So first of all, that is the most important thing with that. And then the other thing I'm going to say is you focus on getting things caught up and paid. Okay, don't focus on someone coming to save you. Don't focus on that. That is the fastest way out of financial issues, money issues. Don't look for someone to save you, because what I have seen in terms of kickstarting this incredible energy around, I can take care of myself. I am going to do what I need to do. I'm going to get creative. I am going to think outside the box. I am going to be open to things. That all happens when you are not waiting around for someone to come and save you, because the resourcefulness that you have in you can only be imagined when you are no longer simply imagining some guy, the white knight on a whatever, the shining white knight on a white horse. What is it? Okay. That's good. I'm getting away from the fairy tale, because usually that is like so familiar. So if we're coming out of that, that's a good thing. But the more you can get away from this guy swooping in and coming to save you, the better, because you are going to unleash in you some kind of a resourcefulness, resiliency that, thank you, the white horse knight in shining armor. Thank you. Thank you. So you are going to unleash that in you when you give that up, because the fastest way to everything that you are looking for, including that guy, okay, is in recognizing the resourcefulness and the resiliency and the magic within you. And there is something that shifts when you recognize that it is not just a matter of, when am I ever going to get out of this mess? I need this guy to save me. I need this guy to come rescue me. I mean, that is what we were handed. So, I mean, if that is your go-to, yeah, welcome to the club, because that is what we were all handed. And it's why most of us have ended up in a position where we feel powerless and helpless, and where we feel like we continue to repeat the cycle of where we need a man. Okay. So find all those things within yourself just by, and I know that's so cliche, and that's why I hate saying it like that, but really, when you focus on not needing someone to try to come along and save you, and when you recognize that you have got so many avenues open within yourself that you haven't even uncovered, okay, all you got to do is focus on you for a change, instead of someone coming to rescue you or doing it for you. You are going to find a part of you and piece. You're going to find sides of you that you didn't even know you had. Okay. And I see this part awakening all the time, and it's beautiful. So I can't tell you when, but I do know that you're on the right track. if you focus on you and taking care of yourself and asking for help and looking for yourself instead of so hard for a man. Like look and see who you have lost, right? You've lost yourself along the way. All those messages, right? All these messages come to the fore, and everything about ourselves and what we can do. I mean, it just, we get pushed down, and all these messages of everything we have to do in order to make things better, those all come up. Okay. All right, Pamela, I hope that helped you. Sharon, are you here? I'll get to the chat too at the end. If you have any questions, if you were not able to get your questions into me, I will see what I can answer at the end, so you can type in the chat and I'll answer those. Sharon is a quick one. How to flirt without chasing. Sharon, if you are here, I am answering you. Otherwise, you'll get this on the replay. How to flirt without chasing. So flirting without chasing, I know most of us associate flirting with chasing, right? You flirt, you're chasing. It's that mindset. This is all 100% a mindset. You flirt without chasing by remembering the mindset is that you are everything, right? Like you have got it going on, girl. You are this magical, this incredible woman with all the energy. You are magnetic. You have got it. Okay. And when you feel so good about yourself, and this is not easy, because when you have flirted a lot and it's always felt like chasing and it never leads anywhere, that's like, you're going to feel those words are going to feel so hollow, that as if you have any of that. As if you have any of that magnetism, as if you have any of that. I mean, you're probably, I know a lot of you are listening to that, and it's so like, but what if I don't feel that, right? Like, what if I'm so exhausted from trying so hard? What if I'm so exhausted from doing all the chasing and it has never worked out? And what do I do with that? I mean, if that's where you're at, I completely understand that. And that is, yeah, I mean, it's exhausting. So it really is about changing your mindset to one of, you're not chasing anyone ever again. Like, no more chasing. Like, chasing is eliminated. We don't chase. And this goes for girlfriends or family members or anyone, okay? I mean, all of this. You don't chase after anybody. Anybody. I don't care who they are. You are not the chasing kind. You're the loving kind, okay? You're here to be loved and to love, to give love and to be, you are the epitome of love. You epitomize love, not this chasing. Chasing is such a horrible energy, because chasing is just, it's a pick me. I mean, you're back in high school, right? And you're back to your elementary school or whatever age you were at, but you're back in this place where you're trying so hard and you're trying to be picked and you're trying to be loved and you're trying to get someone to love you and to pick you, to choose you. Okay. We don't want that energy anywhere near us, because that is not a part of you. So the key here is to understand that it's really, flirting is more about curiosity than anything. Like, the idea of flirting is that you are curious to know who someone might be, right? And this can be anywhere. I mean, there is no difference between flirting and just being curious about who these strangers are that you happen to bump into, or that you happen to see, or who you can look at it as, who has been strategically placed in your path so that the two of you are going to cross paths, right? And being curious about that. And again, I know this is so hard when you are exhausted from the trying, but if you look at it as, okay, we're leaving that behind, we're not doing that anymore, we're starting fresh with this idea instead, that we are going to stay curious about who's here, who was placed here, whose path, am I going to cross, and being curious about all of that, and who will this person be, and so it really is something that is very helpful if you are around and you practice with different people, like with everybody. Like, there's a bookstore that I walk past in my neighborhood, and there's this bookstore that I absolutely love, because they always have, their whole windows are all full of all these different titles. And the one that I saw today that I loved, and it was about strangers. It was about meeting strangers and why. And the premise for it was essentially that it is so essential. Like meeting strangers, talking to strangers, like would cure what ails so much in our world, in our society, right? Because the idea of staying curious about, like, why is someone else here walking around on the planet, right? Like, what do they bring? What's their story? And without feeling weird about it, right? Or without feeling like, oh, you know, what am I? What are they won't want to talk to me, or they won't want to. So I love the idea of practicing with everybody. And if any of you have dogs, okay, I have 3 dogs. I love the opportunities that my dogs afford me to be able to talk to strangers and have like these really long conversations with these strangers. I talk now without my dogs, and I usually, my kids will say, make sure you tell them you have dogs, mom, because I love hearing people's stories. I love talking to people, and if they have dogs and you have dogs, it's an easy kind of a segue into conversations. If you don't have dogs, that's okay. You can pick up any conversation, anything. You can talk to anyone. They're just people. They're just people, you know, and so many of us were brought up to be afraid of people. I was thinking about this the other day. And you know, there is so many of us had parents who were like either afraid of people or were afraid of the other, right? Someone who is different. A lot of us who were brought up in religious circles have a subconscious feel to this, where we were brought up where there are sides or there are differences, and some people are acceptable and some people are not acceptable. There is a lot of this that will be completely subconscious to you. You will not even realize it. But a lot of this is that you have been brought up to be afraid of people. And so the more that you can practice on anybody and just meet people, just strike up conversations. I don't care if they think you're weird. I mean, if you strike up a conversation with me or anyone in my family, we are not, my husband's as much of a talker as I am with strangers. And so, you know, if you strike up conversations with us, we're going to love it. And what I have found is that there are a lot of people who will talk to you and just enjoy that conversation if you're enjoying it. But there are other people who are just the opposite, you know, and they'll give you that vibe that, like, you're weird, like, why are you talking to me? Well, that does not mean that you need to be afraid of people. You need to stop what you're doing. You need to not keep talking to more people. That isn't a stop. What that means is that these are not your people, and they never were, and those are not any type of people who you ever want to approach or talk to. They're not yours. So, and because it took me so long to learn this myself, I understand that, right? And so, yeah, so practice. Okay, that was a long one for just 5 words, how to flirt without chasing. But Sharon, I hope you got the gist of that, and everyone else, because that is the point. Okay, that is the absolute point of this, that people, okay, that's how you find out who your people are. You stay curious and you practice with talking to anyone, okay? And the right people will pick up on your energy. Your people will be attracted to you. You will absolutely attract the type of people who are meant to be with you. And you don't worry about the rest. I don't care if someone looks at you weirdly. That person looks at you weirdly. Okay. You talk to me, I am going to like love talking to you. I'm going to want to know everything about you. I mean, yeah. Okay. So you get it. All right. Okay. Next one is from Carissa. Carissa, are you here? You guys are so sweet. Okay. Carissa writes, hi, Jane. I've never had anyone believe in me. That's why I don't believe in myself. Self-worth is usually something that is instilled in children by the people around them offering praise and support. I haven't had that. It's difficult now to believe it on the occasion that it is offered from others. How do I overcome this? Your help is as always much appreciated, Carissa. Okay, Carissa, are you here? Okay, Carissa, whenever you get this, wherever in the world you happen to be, I hope you benefited. Go back, Carissa, if you get this, go back and listen to my last answer about flirting that evolved into something else about the same type of thing. And then the one before that was about worth and a woman who was saying, yeah, so go back up when you get these because that one too was about the she was hoping that this guy had seen her worth, and I talk about why that root is an issue. That is a problem. So that is the root cause of most of our unequal, unhealthy, unbalanced relationships. Okay, it's back there somewhere. So go back and listen to that because that's in there too. But I'm going to answer yours as well because this is exactly why. I mean, this is why I'm here. I believe in you. So so you have someone who believes in you because I have never met a case yet that has defied my ability to believe in you. I have never, ever met someone who has not surprised themselves and lived up to what I knew they were capable of. Okay? I will never give up on anyone ever because I have seen stuff. I have seen crazy stuff. I have seen absolutely crazy shit go down that is just like I have been I have had people tell me that um, give up on them. It's never going to happen for them. I have had them explain everything about why it won't happen for them. And then I have seen that turn around. So I never, ever, no matter how much you can be done with something and you can just believe that, you don't have it in you and everyone else has it in you, in them. And there's something fundamentally wrong with you. I will never believe that. So, okay. All right. There. I'll get off my soapbox now and answer your question. So yeah, self-worth, you know what? So that is really tough. It is. It's normally instilled in children by the people around them that offer that. I can tell you now, I mean, the way I have a son and a daughter, and the relationship that I have with them and how they are so different. I mean, sometimes it brings me to tears because I see what kids raised with self-esteem and with aware parents who admit from the beginning that we have no idea what we're doing. So, but we know we're going to throw out everything that we learn, that we thought we knew, and we're gonna go by what we are here to learn. What our kids are here to teach us. And so, it absolutely is heartbreaking and so triggering sometimes. Like just yeah. And I talk about this, with some of my girlfriends who are like this, who yeah, it is absolutely. And if you have kids, by the way, and if you're single moms on here and you have kids or you have grandkids, I mean, that is a normal response too, to feel the to feel, to be triggered by that, or to just see or even if they're not your own kids, just to see excuse me, to see what others go through, what loved kids get that you didn't. Okay, that is so real. I mean, sometimes that just strikes me, it just yeah, to see what free kids with high self-esteem looks like. That can just hit you like a gut punch to see what it could have been like for you and who you would have been and what you could have been like, I mean, whew, yeah, they're just little things, yeah. Okay. Yeah, it's tough, anyway, okay. So I know you haven't had that, Chris, and that's really hard and it's difficult to believe now that you can get it from others. So I'm sure you've heard the cliche of reparenting yourself, right? And the inner child work. I mean, there are so many courses, books, everything on the inner child, loving yourself, learning to love yourself. And I mean, these were such buzzwords. They've become like everything, right? And so it's easy to kind of, I know, course junkies, you've been through like so many programs, so many courses on self-love. I want to love myself. And you're still here and you don't love yourself. I mean, and it's hard to love yourself. And, I've been through this. I know what that is like. And I feel for all of us who have ever been through this stuff and still don't feel loved. And this self-love thing, it seems so elusive and it almost seems then so cruel, because what is so wrong with you, right? I mean, that's what it feels like. What is so wrong with us? What is so wrong with me that I can't figure this out? Because there's a million and one courses and programs and videos and books on how to love yourself. What is so wrong with, I mean, it just adds insult to injury that you keep on trying to love yourself and it never seems to happen. I still don't love myself. What do I do? Is there something so wrong with me? Am I that helpless? I mean, that's the feeling, right? That's what you feel like when you've tried everything. Okay, so the simple way to overcome this is to recognize that the whole thing on self-love and all this stuff, right? I mean, a lot of it's marketing, a lot of it is to try to sell you something, a lot of it is people with good intentions who have hit the self-love bucket and they want to pass on their self-love knowledge to you, but it doesn't work for you. I mean, the first thing is just to acknowledge all this. Like the idea of self-love would be amazing if it were just that easy. It isn't that easy. So, the fastest way to have this instilled in you as an adult is to recognize that child that you were, okay, that little girl that you were, okay, she she got a bum rap. I mean, everything that she was put through was not what she deserved. And that was not, that was a parent who did not know how to instill that type of belief in yourself. That was a parent who didn't know how to properly love you. That was a parent who didn't know how to treat a child, how to raise a child, what to do. That was a parent or a caregiver or someone or a teacher who had no clue how they were breaking you down instead of raising you up. They were broken down. They didn't know how to deal with their own issues, much less raise a child healthily, with high self-esteem. So all of this is, first of all, getting off this whole self-love bandwagon, getting off of this whole thing we're espousing that you just need to love yourself more. Just love yourself more. I mean, that is exhausting at some point. How do you love yourself more when every part of your being is feeling so unloved and so just exhausted from all of it? So, the number one way to do it is to go do those things that will make you feel good about yourself and remind yourself you build up the confidence in yourself now. Do the things that will build your confidence. Do the things that, take a chance on you. Try things that you haven't tried before. Recognize you're not that little girl anymore. You're an adult now. You can speak to that little girl and you can say to her, as an adult, you can say, you know what? You were treated the way you were treated, right? Like you were not given the opportunities that you should have been given. No one believed in you. No one did all that. And you know what? I'm really sorry you didn't. But the adult you can tell yourself that we're an adult now. We're an adult now. So now we don't need someone to believe in us. We just need to believe in ourselves. We don't need someone to approve of us. We don't need someone to prove us worthy. We just need to go and venture out and wait for the helpers to appear. I recently came back from a surprise trip that I never intended to go on because I didn't think I was ready to go on airplanes and all that yet. But I haven't been on an airplane in a couple years with everything. And I had a friend who reached out to me, my friend from when so long ago when I was 18 and she was 20, and we've known each other since then. And literally I went on the airplanes and went to visit her and she needed me. And I just felt absolutely like I could not go to her with everything the way it came about. And you know what? I always look for the helpers. Like when I don't feel I have the strength to do something, because let me tell you, sometimes I don't. Sometimes I don't. Sometimes I need my own cup filled up more. Sometimes I get scared and sometimes I get anxious. I mean, you're talking to someone who had panic attacks, and the whole reason I, had to give up a 4-year scholarship, to a private university when I was 18 was because I had panic attacks, and I'm just beginning to understand the extent that, that just affected so much, and that really changed the course of my life. But my point there being, right, like there are times when I need that help too, and I need to know that there are people there for me too. And I always say I look for the helpers. So when my friend met me at the other end at the airport, and when I saw her and I said, I just followed the helpers the whole way. It was a spur of the moment thing. And I hadn't, whatever I had with that. And yeah, it's, I looked for the helpers. And you know what? I ended up finding those helpers. I mean, crazy. The first couple that I met were the sweet elderly couple, and they were so sweet and so kind, and I didn't even have to go in the middle seat. It was the last minute. Literally, I bought this ticket with like an hour, 2 hours before I made it to the airport. And I so there were only middle seats. I was on Southwest because that was, they don't have assigned seating, right? So, and they moved over for me, and then they were so sweet. They were so sweet. And we went through Las Vegas, and Las Vegas is turbulence. I didn't realize. I mean, it was 97 degrees. I guess that's, and so apparently, when the temperatures are really high, for those of you who are not great flyers, just know, because I didn't know this, but I was so focused on getting there to see my friend that I didn't have time to think about these things. So, but we're going into there, and she was literally saying how with the high temperatures, the flight attendant, that it's always bumpy. It's always a bumpy. There's lots of turbulence because the air is so hot. Well, I didn't know that, and so it was so bumpy this whole time going in, and the couple was like so reassuring. And there were, a couple of women then behind me, they were going to some concert there. And they were like, oh yeah, it does this all the time. So I like looked around, and I got the helpers there who are making me feel so much better because they've been here. They've gone through this, and they're used to this. And so they were so reassuring. And then the next leg, because I'm like, oh my God, I got to get out of this now. I am not a good flyer. I'm not. I love travel. I love going and seeing new people and going to places and all that. But I get freaked out with that turbulence, and I'm always looking around to check the temperature of everyone else and see who's panicking. And so if anyone is feeling that way out there, I hear you on that. But literally the second leg, there was this guy on there. He's a doctor. Okay, I seated myself, really actually good looking hunky doctor, young, and again, middle seat because I'm last on. I'm the last group to board, but I'm next to this guy who I felt so safe. If anyone knows me, I mean, yeah. I always like being around safe people and doctors and the type firefighters and yeah, EMTs. Those always make me feel better. Which was funny. My girlfriend was laughing about this when I told her. So basically, through the bumpiness from Vegas, out to Tahoe was where I was going to meet my friend, and so that was, I talked to him the whole way, and he's telling me about because he lives in Vegas and he flies a lot going from on this route. So, look for the helpers. Look for the helpers all along the way. Everywhere you're going, look for the helpers, because if you are looking for them, you will find them and they will be there for you. And I will tell you this, if you ever look for me, I mean, I'm going to be there for you. I am one of those helpers, right? And there are so many helpers. If you look through, if you can just take a chance on the world being a safer place than the scary place that so many of us were brought up with it being, you will find those people. You will. But you have to take that initial first step to take a chance on them, right? To look out for them, to tell yourself, okay, I'm going to do this. I think this is going to be hard for me, but I will look for the helpers and I will find them. And if any of you have not seen the Mr. Rogers movie, oh my goodness. Okay. If you have not seen that, you have got to watch it tonight or this afternoon or wherever you are. My husband pulled that up for me in a few months ago. We were late watching it, but oh my God, that movie. Okay. I told him I need to watch more of these all the time. We need to have like a list of all these. You got to compile a list. He's really good at that. So I'm like, compile a list of movies like Mr. Rogers. That movie it just spoke to me. And if you have seen it, I think you'll understand why. If you haven't seen it, watch it and you'll understand why. Okay. But look for the helpers. When you are scared, when you are feeling like you don't believe in yourself, when you are needing to find the people who will believe in you, yes, you will find that within yourself. Okay. And you should not go looking for the people to believe in you, to make you believe in yourself, but bring in the helpers to help you believe in you. Okay. Don't go looking for more water from a stone. Okay. I talk about that all the time because that's what we do. We take the stone cold hard guy or a parent, right? Or someone in our lives, someone we work for, whatever, right? We take that stone cold, hard rock. And we're going to be the one to make that thing believe in us. Never, ever going to happen. But we will measure our worth and our ability to believe in ourselves by whether or not we can make that happen. Okay, that is like the last thing that we should ever be doing. Okay, Carissa, I think I answered that. I think I spent a lot of time on that one, so I hope you got that. Okay. Melina writes, what's with men and the push for sex? Where are those guys that will take the time to get to know you and all? Okay, Melina, are you here? Because, yeah, and Melina, you don't even have to be here. You'll get this on the replay, but anyone here, I think the majority of women could answer or could be asking this question, be looking for an answer on this one. Because, yeah, I mean, there are a lot of men who are just looking for sex, who are just out there for one thing, and they won't take the time to get to know you, right? They will eliminate you if you're not into that. They will, yeah, they'll make sure they'll come on strong, and they'll make sure they know what they're looking for. They'll try to hide whatever, but the message is clear. They want either friends with benefits, they want just sex. It's all about sex. Okay, so where are the guys that are going to take the time to get to know you? First of all, I think what is so important is the mindset. If you believe that all men, or if you believe that all the good men are taken, if you believe that we're only left with all these men who are pushing for sex, who won't take the time to get to know you, if that is what you believe and that is your mindset, you are much more likely to find those types of men. Okay, so I want you to do an experiment with me. I want you to try to imagine that because I know this can be a stretch and it can feel like a stretch, but I want you to try to imagine for me that there are men out there who are not like this. And it is going to be hard to do, because if you already are believing this, you're going to feel like, well, come on, Jane, like, of course they all are. No, they're not all. They're not all. Okay. There are a lot of men who believe that is how they're supposed to behave. They've been brought up in that, and they don't know anything different. And they're trying to get their worth and their validation through their sexual prowessness, right? So if they can act all the way they're supposed to act, right? And if they can get the notches on their bedpost, if they can get a woman into bed with them quickly, if they can prove that they're worthy in the way that men have been brought up, trying to prove their worthiness, right? That is how they prove it. Then that's all they've known. That's what they're going to do. Okay. So I want you to remember that, because just like we have all these things where we're supposed to prove our worthiness with being pretty enough and whatever else, sweet enough or feminine enough, whatever, right? That we've been told. They have similar stuff that's just different, but it's still programming. And their programming says that all they need to do is just get some woman to want them. Okay. So that is essentially what starts the shift. Okay. Because if that is their programming and they're operating only on that, there is a guy underneath that programming who's a real guy. And guess what? He wants to be loved. He wants to feel valued. He wants to feel like he is more than just some jock guy who can get a woman in bed with him. Okay. So, I mean, there is that underneath, but the surface piece is the programming. Okay. That's the surface piece. There's lots of programming in there. So if you can see that you are actually more similar than dissimilar, if you've got more in common than not, because he's got programming too, that's the start of it. But I want you to imagine that that there are men out there, and they are not just looking for sex. They are looking for companionship. Okay. And they're looking for someone to love them. They want to be loved. Okay. If there's anything I have learned so clearly about all the men that I have heard of, that I've met through you, from talking to you, hearing about your men, and I actually branched into a lot more couples coaching, and the men are always surprised. I don't hate them. They actually find I'm their ally in this. And usually what I do, I have like the role of an interpreter, and I'm interpreting his behavior and his responses for you. So if you have a guy who's open to that, I do that a lot. And it's always eye-opening, because I've had women be absolutely flabbergasted that I'm like saying everything that their guy has said. And so that usually makes them more willing to meet and to be coached. And then, to hear essentially that I'm on his side, because I'm on both your sides. I want to see the number one difficulty in us getting together is the programming. Men have their programming, women have their programming, and then we act a certain way based on that. So I mean, that's the difficulty with that. Okay. So if you can remember that a man wants to be loved too, okay, and the sex thing is a cover, then if you can give a guy a chance or just remember that, that will reflect back to you in terms of who shows up. So you're going to find that the pool of men, you're not going to just find the men who just want sex show up. You're going to find that you also start attracting some men who have more than that, where they actually have more beyond that, because you have the ability to see that. If you're just stuck in that's all that everyone wants, all guys just want sex, I guarantee you're going to keep attracting that. If you have even any part of you that believes that you might meet a guy who actually wants something beyond that, who wants to be loved as well, who isn't that much different from you, except for his errant programming that has him behaving a certain way, that is going to benefit you so much more than anything that you have ever been through. With I mean, think about it, right? Like, how has this served you? The idea that men just want sex, right? How has that helped you? It hasn't. You keep finding men who only want sex. You keep finding that you're proof that all the good ones are taken, right? Well, that is just not true, because the majority of men, except for, it's a small few who really are that committed to just, or uncommitted, committed to just sex, and uncommitted to anything else. That is such a small pool, but that is the persona. That is what a guy is supposed to be a man. I mean, that's what's so messed up in our society with this. So, yeah. So where are they? Okay. So that's the second part, right? Where are they going to be? Are they going to be some of these places where you find the macho type men and only those? I mean, you will find them anywhere, because I really do believe, and I have seen this, that men who want more than sex are everywhere. Okay, they're everywhere. If you can just get past that persona, right? If you can just get past that programming, that exterior that they put out there, that false exterior. So beyond that, they are going to be in places where they probably, are more in touch with their feelings. I mean, you're probably going to find these men, depending, like, you can take classes that you might want to meet someone who's got a mutual interest similar to yours, right? So you meet a class. Okay, so I got to tell real quick thing here. Okay, we have just resumed Aikido. So my husband and my son took Aikido years ago, and we haven't picked it up. Back up. We were in a small town before, and now we've moved, and so now there's a lot more places. Okay, so I got to tell you that Aikido has. So Aikido is a type of martial arts. Is anyone familiar with Aikido? But anyway, that just has made a big difference, because there is something literally about Aikido that it is a martial arts where you basically are relying on the energy. You're taking the other person's energy, so the attacker in this idea. Instead of you being the attacker, what you're essentially doing is you are taking the other person's energy and you're using it against them to defend yourself. So it's very much a defensive thing. It's a totally different thing. So if you want to meet like some more sensitive type men who are very strong, I mean, these are some of the strongest men, because they are choosing a martial arts that is more of a defense than an attacking. So anyway, I cannot even tell you how impressed I have been with the men that I have met through that. So that's just a place. But do you see what I mean? It's just certain types of places like that. There is something to be said for finding that, and yeah, if you can look at some outside the box places where you wouldn't normally find someone like that, that is key. So that's what I would do, is mindset first, okay? And then after the mindset comes places where you're going to meet more of the types of men that you're actually looking for. Okay. And this may be an awareness thing where you realize and you recognize that is something that you're looking for, right? Not just the macho man, but you're looking for a guy who's going to actually be stronger. Because I'll tell you this, there is nothing more attractive than a really strong man, like a man who's in touch with all his sides. So basically, he's not just this exterior, but he's also got these other parts of him. There is nothing more attractive than that. Is real strength being with someone like that. Okay. All right, Melina. I hope that helped you on there. Lisa wrote to me. Lisa, are you here? Not sure if, okay. I'm not sure if Lisa's here, but Lisa wrote to me saying, hi, Jane, I'm in a bad place. And she has bad with a capital B-A-D. She's got all caps. So it sounds like it's, yeah, not a good place. In my head and my life, okay, I'm in a bad place in my head and life since my on and off again 30-year relationship ended last July when he left his house. He didn't even offer the respect I deserved to let me know we were over. Lots and lots of heartbreaking stories. Here are the questions I've got. Why do I feel empty when a relationship ends? Why do I question if my partner ever really loved me after the relationship ends? I love hard and strong and have difficulty letting go with everything. Why? Oh, and I can't imagine. Okay, Lisa, everyone on here, I think, is going to have those questions. So these are really, really good ones. I don't know anyone here. I mean, you tell me if you don't have these, right? Why do I feel empty when a relationship ends? Why do I question if my partner ever really loved me after it ends? And I love hard and strong and have difficulty letting go with everything. Yeah, I mean, that's us. Welcome to this corner of the internet, because that is us. You are in really good company here. Our decades-long relationship ended with no communication. One of our big issues. He initially put me on a pedestal and said he couldn't believe I was with him. Yes, this is what they all say. This is what they say. I can't believe I found you. I can't believe I got you. I am so lucky to have you. And then years later, or months later, or weeks, right? Where'd that go, right? Like, where did that feeling go that they had? Where did all those words go, right? Okay. After all these years, he improved on all aspects, and I didn't. Eventually, he spoke down to me and acted like he was the prize. Right. So he improved on all of these. And yeah, that's how it gets reversed, right? And you can't even believe that this conversation happened in the beginning, that he felt that way, right? Because it totally changes. He told me I was like an anchor holding him down. There was something that I tweeted in response to someone a while back. It was someone who was talking about what they think about. Anyway, what I said was that they will love your light until they can't control it. And then they will hate you for it. Okay, this applies here. Eventually, he spoke down to me and acted like he was the prize. He told me I was like an anchor holding him down, said many, many hurtful words while building himself up. He had all of my belongings, including a huge amount of cash, jewelry, and everything connected to me, with my deceased mom thrown away while he tricked me to go out of state with him to see my dad. This was years ago, and I stayed, completely distraught, heartbroken beyond comprehension. Then he left me 3 years later anyway. I am so mad at myself. And when he left, is when I could only think about all my wrongdoings. Why do I do this? Yeah. Now, almost a year later, I'm back to anger, hurt, and so much pain. Lisa, if you're on here, you got a whole bunch of women here in this community who are feeling you here. And yeah, this is going to be resonating with, I don't think there's anyone this won't resonate in some form with. I feel like I wasted my youth on someone who decided I was just a placeholder when he got himself into a better place physically to match the other positive aspects of his life. He still always complimented my looks. I do look younger than him, but he's now with a younger woman. I feel like he moved on with no problem, able to start over, even telling me I should want him to be happy, forgetting how he said I was his world, etc. And now I'm just nothing. I get to be old and alone. Thanks for reading. I appreciate any suggestions. Looking forward to this. Oh, Lisa, I hope you're here. I hope you're here and can feel the love. And if you catch up on the replay or you're not on here, you're sleeping somewhere in the world. We love you, Lisa. And you are just speaking for all of us because, yeah, This you really nailed it here with the feelings of these things. We feel empty when a relationship ends. You question if he ever really loved you, right? You question yourself, right? You wonder what you did wrong, and then yeah, letting go. We love okay. So here's the whys. The whys. Why do we do this? Okay, so we do this because we literally come under their spell. They make us feel so good. Okay, we are on this high. We feel like they see us. So here's what happens. They see you in a way that you have not seen yourself before. I mean, that's the reality, that they see you in a way that you don't see yourself. And so you think that you need this guy in order to be seen like this. But the thing is, you don't. This is you, whether or not you have this guy or not. Like, this is you. It's just you finally have someone who sees you on a level that you have not been seen before. And so this is all you. I mean, this magic, this stuff, this. So I want you to go back to that. The first words he said to you when he said, okay, when he said that he could not believe that you're with him. I want you and everyone else who's ever been here, I want you to believe that. He really can't believe that he's with you. And he does put you up on that pedestal because you're the closest thing that he has ever seen to anyone like you. I mean, he feels like he is the luckiest guy that he has ever been with, that he's ever able to be with someone like you. Okay. So this is intoxicating. This is like a drug. So I want to clarify the reason why you feel so empty when it ends, because it is essentially you have been addicted to this view of yourself that you never had before. He lights you up. He makes you feel so special, so beautiful, so incredible, like you have never, ever felt before. And so he has you believing all of these things about yourself that you have been incapable of believing before. And now it's gone. It's gone. So basically, this person who just illuminated you in this way that you have never seen yourself, he's gone. And that means you're gone. You're gone too. The light's gone. You're gone. You can't see yourself anymore. He was that guy. He held up a mirror through his insight, through how he saw you, because he was so excited about you. And here's the problem, right? So when he starts changing, we go down with him, because what happens is he's got you. I mean, you've been craving this, right? Because this happens to someone this happens to us when we didn't get this. It goes back to the other, and when you are listening to this, if you're not on here, go back to the one that I read a couple back, because this goes back to the feeling that we want, that all children should get, right? The self-esteem, the someone to believe in us, someone to see us, right? So when you don't have that as a child, you show up craving that, because that is a child's birthright. That is every child brought into the world deserves that. And very few of us ever get it. We instead we get stuck with the needs of a parent or a caregiver or a teacher or someone who has such an influence over us and is still carrying all of their woundings that they have never been in touch with. Okay. So what ended up happening is you saw someone who finally was able to give you what you want, who was able to see that way. You lit up. And so you became this you saw yourself in a way that you've never seen yourself before. That's why you feel empty, because that is addictive. And you feel like you cannot get it except with him, because he gave it to you. So that's why you feel like it's because of him. It's not because of him. It's because of you. You're the one who has that. And your answer is you need to find that from his is not reliable or dependable or in any way trustworthy. You can't trust that someone who sees you that way is going to keep on. When it starts like that in the beginning, there's no way that someone is going to be able to sustain that, because it's all you. He doesn't have anything to give you. All he's doing is reflecting back your own light to you. So that's why this hurts so bad. That's why it feels so empty, because that was the addiction. It's done. It's you've been addicted to this guy who showed you, who gave you a feeling about yourself that you've been craving from the day you were born. that you never got from someone else. And if you're and so why do some of us have this and some of us don't? Well, it also depends on sensitivity level. If you're a really sensitive person who is not as practical, and I mean, this is why we're usually attracted to those types, right? The practical and the logical, because we live in the more ethereal, where we want more of the feelings of things, and we are the sensitive ones who feel everything. And so you're going to feel if someone doesn't love you or love you unconditionally. You're going to feel that. So that's a part of it, is when you are with someone um who lights you up like this. Well, you're extra susceptible to that, because this is who we are, as sensitive, emotional, more ethereal beings. This is why we have to have people in our lives who see us like this. And if and men, often it goes haywire with. So it's really, you have to have friends, you have to have support people, you have to have bring in your support people. Don't stay with anyone who doesn't make you feel that way. If you're in counseling, or if you're in coaching, or if you're in any kind of therapy, mentoring, whatever you're in, if you have someone you're settling for just because your insurance pays for that, find someone else. Your insurance will pay for someone else, or someone else will be way more worth their weight in gold in what they can give you, than staying with someone. I've talked to some women who have been horribly abused by counselors or coaches they spend thousands of dollars on. And these people have just been awful for them. So you need people who see you, who light up with you, who have the ability to see you and appreciate you and make you feel valued, so that you're not so susceptible and vulnerable to men like this. Okay, so that's why you feel empty, because it is akin to a drug. That's what it is. And the more sensitive you are, okay, you're going to feel it stronger. And then why do you question if your partner ever really loved you after the relationship ends? Well, that's because it seems surreal. I mean, the whole thing will seem surreal. It will seem, because you were on such a high, and because this person took you to a place you've never been, that will invoke all these feelings from childhood, right? Like that will just bring up all of these feelings, and just it's a surreal experience. It will feel like it didn't even happen, or it'll feel like it didn't exist. It'll feel like a fantasy. And I'll tell you this, the main reason it feels like so surreal and like a fantasy is because that is all that ever was for them. They never had it in them to give you more than that, right? And so this is the reason why you question, did he ever really love me? Well, he acted like it. He told you the words, but then it changed. And so we get stuck on what happened in the beginning, and we get stuck. I think you mentioned this. Like when he left, you said all you could think about were your wrongdoings. So why you do that is related to the same thing. You get stuck on all of your wrongdoings and scrutinizing your own behavior, because you have no control over this guy who was literally only a fantasy, because he was living in fantasy world. That was it. All he ever had to give you was the fantasy. And so the reason why we do that is because we have no control over this guy who left. And that is excruciatingly painful. That is so painful, to not be able to have any control. I mean, that is crazy making. We feel so completely out of control. So that's what's going on there. You're trying to get back some semblance of control. And so if you can look at your own faults, if you can look at what you did wrong, you will at least, it will seem like you're trying to figure out what you did. You'll feel like you have some control, but you won't. So don't go there. Okay. I would say this, and then the last thing, I love hard and strong, have difficulty letting go with everything. Why? Well, it's because you are such a feeler. I mean, you've got this beautiful sensitivity. You've got this beautiful emotional side that feels so deeply. And so you go in deep because you love this way, because you are capable of loving this way. And the only thing, I would not change a thing about how you love, just you have to wait to love like that. You have to hold back. You have to wait to love like that until you know for sure that someone that you are loving like that you're going all in with, is deserving of you, is on the same page as you. Because if they are not, you're going to have an even harder time letting go of them, because you are going to feel like they have all this and that they can offer you all that. And your mind is going to run ahead of you, and you're going to feel like it is the way that feels. And so you need concrete evidence. You need proof. You need a guy to actually prove it to you in practical, logical ways that he is capable of loving you like this consistently. So it's consistent behavior over time. Okay, those are your magic words. Consistent good behavior over time. Consistent good behavior over time. That is the only reason that you go all in and allow yourself to go there. Now, I have had other women who say, I can't not love like this. Like, I'm not going to be true to myself if I don't. And so I just want to say, go in with your eyes wide open and just know that if you choose to not hold back that love, okay, to save yourself some the waiting, if and to save you, avoid that heartbreak if it doesn't turn out that way, by waiting for that consistent good behavior over time. If you just if you know that you need to love the way you love in order to be true to yourself, then what I would say to you is just go in with your eyes wide open and own the fact that you are going in like that, and just know that that is worth it to you. You're making a choice. It is a conscious decision. This is the piece where you're doing the choosing comes in. So you are making a conscious choice, a conscious decision to love the way you love, so that you are going into this full on loving, being yourself, giving what you've got to give. And if it ends in heartbreak, just know that it was because you honored that loving part of you. You honored that part of you that wants to love the way you love. Okay. And that is a beautiful thing. I would much prefer you wait to avoid that heartbreak. But I also know for some of us, we have to be heartbroken in order to understand this concept. Okay. And some of us just need to go in feeling, because we value that feeling. We value those feelings, even if they're highs and lows. We value those more than the safe route or the safer route, right? So just know that about yourself and own it and choose it, because you will go in empowered instead of feeling like, oh, here I go again. And then when you come out and you're beating yourself up, that's different. That has a whole different energy to it. So don't go in if you're going to beat yourself up if it doesn't work out. Go in knowing, owning the fact that if you go in and it doesn't turn out the way that you had hoped it to, but you go all in, it will be because you owned that and you chose to go all in because it was more worth it for you to honor that part of you. Okay? Because what I say or anyone else says about taking your time, making sure it's consistent, I want to protect you. I want to make sure that you are not, that you don't go through unnecessary heartbreak. I don't want your heart broken. I hate heartbreaks. It's awful. But I also know that for some of us, that moves us forward in ways that we can't see. So anyway, Lisa, there was so much in there. I just want you to say, don't do nothing. Okay. Don't keep going back and thinking about everything he said to you. Don't do that. Okay. Do not do that. That is so harmful. Every time you want to go back and remember everything he said, remember that he was only reflecting back to you your light. You created him. You essentially created him. You did. You created this guy who was all in, who couldn't say enough about you, who was so excited about you. You did that. You created that with your light, with your energy. That was all you. Okay. So remember that. And now you're not just nothing. Okay. You are not just nothing. You don't get to be old and alone. No, this guy was not someone who you could have been with in the long term, because this guy was looking for someone who was different from you. He wanted someone who was a fantasy. You're more than a fantasy. You're so much more than a fantasy. Okay. So the fastest way to get through this is to not get stuck here on the beating yourself up. Okay. And the self-deprecating behavior where it's, now I'm just nothing. I get to be old and alone. So that's like the worst thing you can do to yourself. So don't do that. Look at it as it is only because it's only because of your light that he was attracted to you, that he built that all up, that he said everything he said. It was all you. And so all you're doing now is you're just looking to align yourself with someone who is just, someone who's going to be able to see you and also be capable of having something of his own to bring to this. Because all this guy brought you was a mirror. He was empty. He was empty. I mean, it's so clear when you talk about his actual behavior. Go back in, read what you read to me, and go back in and go look at all the practical ways. Look at the reality here of the way he actually behaved. You didn't cause that. That was him. That was him. You were the light that he couldn't handle. And I know that, yeah. And now you're going to, I know when you hear that, you think I'm just, building you up and just, okay. No, it's true. It is so true that literally what you bring in, if light, is too woo woo for you or whatever, you can look at it as, okay. So basically all your qualities, they were things that he would like to have. So you can look at it that way. You were too good for him, literally. And he knew it, but he was going to take as much of it as he could before he knew that he had a limit to how much he would be able to give you. That's it. You can think of it that way. All right. Okay, Lisa, I got to move on. But yeah, don't you dare call yourself old and done and whatever else you said. Okay. Don't do that. Okay. Susie, are you here? Susie wrote to us. Okay. I'm gonna try and wrap these up real quick. If I don't get to you tonight, because I try to go fast on these, and there's some that I just can't go fast on because there's so much in there that is resonating or just it resonates with a lot of the themes that come up on my calls and my emails. So I really want to drive some of these points home because I think they're really going to help you. So if I don't get to you tonight, you can always go to my gettingtotruelove.com site and my website, and you can look into my coaching offer, email coaching, and one-on-one phone coaching over Zoom, wherever you are in the world. Okay, so look into those options. If my email coaching is the most reasonable, so the one-on-one still, and I'm still. Yeah, I won't charge you thousands like some people do, which I think is just awful. Okay. Susie wrote to me, I've been chatting to a man who has absolutely so much in common with me and everything I asked the universe to deliver to me. He showed up the morning after I spoke out loud to the universe, saying exactly what I wanted in a man. We met last weekend. He flew over 1,900 kilometers to meet me. Okay. I'm glad he came to you. Because we had a whole conversation about that on my last live. We'd been chatting over the phone on text for 5 weeks. We spent 4 full days and nights together. We got along well, but he seemed very reserved in his emotions. I don't know if that's just him or he's not feeling chemistry with me. I've booked flights to go see him next weekend. Okay, then I'm glad we're talking now. But he seems to have gone quiet. He hasn't been on the dating site since the day we met. But he hasn't been on the dating site since the day we met. It shows when last online. I don't know if him being quiet is a sign I should forget it. Thank you. Okay. All right. So I like that he came to you the first time. I'm wondering how it came about that you booked flights to see him next weekend. So I guess my question on that, Susie, would be I need to know like how that came about because, and I'll give you the 2 scenarios because you got to make a decision quick here because this is next weekend. So if he suggested it, if it was him, if you had so I want you to make sure you know the difference between him agreeing and you kind of getting caught up in, well, let me come, I'll come and visit you next because you feel obligated because he came to see you. So if it's more of the flavor of you organized this and you kind of, felt obligated or you wanted to return kind of the right. So he saw you now, or he came to you. Now you're going to go see him. So if this is more you driving this, then I want you to go back and I want you to see him how much he participated. And I want you to think of just look at that. How much was this you and how much was this him? Okay. So that's the first thing to look at. So that's what I would do. And if it's more him, so if it was more you than him doing it, then that is important for you to look at and look, did you do this or is this premature? Do you guys need to, do you need to know? Because the last thing I want is for you to go there. I've done this before. The last thing you want is to fly somewhere and end up with someone who was done already. Because if you guys flew through this that quick, because 5 weeks, you're still in that really critical period in the beginning. So I just want to make sure that you don't fly all the way out there and have this awful time with him. So, I think, how much is he initiating now? I mean, these are all things that I want to know. How much is he initiating now? How much of that is happening with him initiating contact? You said he's gone quiet. But he hasn't been on it. So, how quiet is quiet? So I think those are the questions that I would need to know. how much of this was initiated by you? How much is it by him? How much is going on here where what are you seeing? Like when you say he's gone quiet, I mean, how quiet? How quiet? I mean, you could say something really, you need to say to him at some point here, so I've got the flights next weekend, but I just want to make sure that we're on the same page here. Are you ready for the visit? Are you ready for me to come visit you? And so what you're doing is you're just feeling them out, but you're also being direct in there because you need an answer to the question of, are you ready for me to come again? Is this too soon for you? Okay, so that's what I would do. Yeah. And again, if you want to talk more about this, you can book something with me and I will fit you in right away because you got to make a thing before next weekend. So, but I don't, yeah, I mean, that's tough. I don't need to waste money on the flight and everything and get there and have a miserable time or I've done that. I ended up sick because I did that and I was sick to my stomach because everything was so wrong. And if I had just been a little more direct before, it would have made all the difference. And I didn't. I just wanted to go. And so I didn't ask the right questions that I should have asked. And I ended up going and it was awful. It was miserable. And like I said, I was sick and then I had to stay longer. And then I'd overdone my vacation time and I had to, it was such a mess. It led to such a mess. So so anyway, you need some feedback from him, but I don't want it to be like you're pulling teeth from him or that you're trying to eke an answer out. I don't want it to go that energy. So definitely your energy and tone is everything here. So I would look at it as just matter of fact, hey, did we jump into this too quick? And are you ready for me? Something along those lines, right? Casual, light at this point, because it's not like you've got a lot of history here. Okay. Okay. Next one I've got on here was Marianne, and Marianne was the one who wrote to me. I love that star. Marianne wrote and said, "I'm so excited." She had 3 exclamation marks. Marianne, you make my night with your email. Hi Jane, I'm so excited to spend my Saturday night with you. It'll be the best date I've had in a very long time. She was the one who wrote that. Marianne, are you here? That's okay. If you are somewhere or you're not here right now, I hope you get this soon. Which leads me to my question. I'm having an awful time trying to meet a decent man. It's been 2 years since I've even looked. This is because I was ghosted by a man I lived with for 2 years who I thought was decent, but turned out so obviously to be a schmuck. Oh, we don't like schmucks, no. I haven't trusted myself since, but I've done a lot of work figuring out what my boundaries and expectations are, what red flags to watch for, etc. The problem I'm currently having is this. Every single guy I meet online either sends me a dick pic without warning, starts talking dirty, or worse yet, wants to Skype so we can do naked stuff together. Oh, yeah, not the type of men you want. And this all usually happens within the first few minutes of the text. Okay, well, that is one good thing. If it happens that quick, that is good. If it happens that quick, you can eliminate them. The key is to eliminate quickly. Oh, Marianne, I'm so glad you're here and you're spending your Saturday night with me. I'm so glad. Okay. Okay. Wow, that fast. Like I said, that is good though. At least it's happening that fast so you can eliminate them. Okay. In my excitement that you were here, I repeated that. Okay. What on earth is going on? Have things really changed that much in the dating world? And believe it or not, I'm not on any hookup sites like Tinder or Bumble. I'm not looking for a hookup. I'm looking for a relationship. Even the guys I've met organically are just as bad. I've been groped in unmentionable places when given a hug, hello, or goodbye, and have had some pretty awful stuff said to me like, honey, yeah, I'd eat you in a heartbeat, and I'll bet you taste good. Jane, I am polite, pleasant, and dressed conservatively. Oh, I am understanding this. Okay. I try my hardest to not give the wrong or bad impression because I don't want to come across as easy. I'm rather disheartened and put off by what I feel is extremely inappropriate behavior, especially from strangers, no less. Is it me? Is it them? Or am I destined to become an old maid? Okay, you're not destined to become an old maid at all. But what I will say is that I will bet you have a fun, light side to you that is just dying to get out. Okay. And this is why, because you are attracting so clearly like the most adverse opposite behavior to you. And so when that happens, that just tells me, based on so much, I've just seen this so often, that like the most, exactly what you're describing yourself as, right? Like just the most wholesome and just, just nice and kind, and all these things that you are. And when you attract something that is so just abhorrently opposite, right? That 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 is, there is a middle for you that is fun, and more, less about any rules or any shoulds or anything you're supposed to be. And there is more of that middle ground where I think you might have some making up to do. Like you might have some developing that side of you, and just some come out and play energy over to that side. Okay. Because what is interesting is the men who are most attracted to you are the men who want to play, like play to the extremes. We don't want them. None of these. But it is so interesting that you are finding yourself with them. Um, so okay. So no, you're not going to become an old maid, and there's so much more to you, and there is so much more than these guys, because we don't, yeah, no more schmucks, no more dick pics. We don't want any of these types of men coming in your space. But I think what this is what would it look like? What does Marianne putting her hair down looks like, letting her hair down look like, right? Like what is you just, so just, I would sit with this and just let it resonate with you, and see what comes up. Okay. Just see what parts resonate through. Okay. Because I will tell you, coming from a very, conservative, very proper background myself, having said the words, like literally when I moved from Vancouver to Los Angeles, those were my words, Marianne, the same as yours, where I literally was determined I was not going to come across as easy. Okay. I mean, that is just like, your story is just so much like, I attracted all kinds of very colorful characters like you. And so I really had to get in touch with this other side of me, because I was finding the worst men, the worst men. And I just, I was purposely like trying to just come across as, I did not want to be in any way considered easy, but I kept finding these types of men. So my advice to you, first of all, it's not you in terms of there being something wrong with you at all. Okay. Not at all. It is not, it is, but what it is there is something to the fact that you are attracting them. And so it's not you in terms of there being anything wrong with you, but I would just work on I would just look at, is there a place more in the middle where you can discover more of who you actually are, or more of what you're really about. And I'll tell you, for me, the biggest thing for me was going back to that little girl and looking at the things that she wanted to do that she never could do. Because I don't know how your background was. I had a really conservative background. I was not allowed to do anything on a Sunday. I was not allowed to do any dance or gymnastics or singing. I so wanted to be in Annie. And my girlfriend at church was in the play Annie that our local high school was putting on when we were in elementary school. And I wasn't allowed to do any of that, even though we both sang together and we would do duets and everything at church. But I wasn't allowed to be in this play because it was on a Sunday and I couldn't do anything. Nothing that would ever meets or shows, anything that would be on a Sunday, I couldn't do. So I had this whole creative part of me that was never, ever, ever allowed to do anything. And so the reason I'm telling you that is because I had to. So one of the things I did to get more in touch with this whole self, so that I wasn't just attracting these awful men. And my men would come pretty close to rivaling yours, Marianne, pretty close. And the reason, so what I had to do was I had to discover more of a balanced me, or just more of a fully dimensional, me, the other sides of me, not just the other. So what I did is I went back and I looked at who I was as a little girl and things that I wanted to do and things that I had never tried before. And I started checking off a list. I made a list and I started checking things off. And I started exploring and discovering um, things that I had never done and started doing them. And I will tell you this, it doesn't matter how old you are gonna become you are going to become so young doing that. Like, don't talk about age. I talk to women in their 20s who feel so old, who feel like old souls. I mean, personally, I felt that. I mean, I felt that myself, and it's so. I'm not surprised I attract women who find their way here and are feeling that too. But I just, at any age, I mean, if you can think of it this way, women in their 20s who I know think they are so old, think they have just, they're running out of time. They've wasted so much of their lives. That probably seems absurd to those of you who are older. And the bottom line is, it's not. It is if you just look at it from an age point of view, but it's how you feel. And there are some of us who've been brought up to be so good and so responsible and so proper that we have aged ourselves to the point that we've forgotten what it's like to be youthful and fun loving and to develop these other sides. So that would be my advice to you, honestly. And starting here with spending your Saturday night with me, I mean, that's perfect way to be a little more playful and I mean, you've got it. You've absolutely got it. I think it's just bringing those sides of you together and just, yeah. And you're going to find you have more time, and you're going to find that, yeah, you feel younger than you ever have. So yeah. Okay. I hope that helps. Like I said, just sit with that and see if any of that resonates with you. There's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with you. It's just most of us attract these types because we have a whole other side of ourselves that we have never been safe to explore. We've never felt safe to do that. And the more you can do that, the more you find people who get you, like you. I don't know. It sounds like you need to find some people who instead of reflecting this version of them, instead of taking from you, right, and not being capable of giving you anything, you need someone who is capable of seeing you. And it doesn't have to be a man, it can just be the people that you have, that you find. It can be groups and things that places. It can be even just that. Okay. And I will tell you this, you mentioned about Tinder. This is for everyone. I have been absolutely shocked and blown away by how many people have met serious marriage minded men on Tinder, and how many have gotten married. And because anytime I have friends or anyone I know of who gets married, and or any clients who write back to me and tell me they got married, I will ask them, like, how'd you meet, or find out, if they're going to a wedding, like find out how your sister-in-law, or your brother, cousin, how did they meet? I can't tell you how many times I hear Tinder. There's a book I'm reading by a new author. They met on Tinder. And they're married, and they're like the perfect match, and he's a good guy and all this. So anyway, just that is, yeah, proven me wrong so many times, because in the beginning I was like, oh, Tinder, I'd roll my eyes at that. So there might be something to Tinder, okay? Or any of those. Like, don't never say never to any of these, because you never know. Okay. All right. Star, I'm going to answer yours. So thanks for hanging in here. For some reason, time just stands still or flies by on here, whichever it is. But I feel like, yeah, these fly by. So Star, yeah, hiya, Star. I've got yours here. So a couple of months have passed since I last asked you a question. I know, right? So the three gentlemen, I remembered your three guys. So you're still most interested in the one that you initially friend zoned. That is not a surprise to me whatsoever. The initial friend zone guys are often, right? You just need a little more time. So that's good. You're still talking to them. You're still, even though you're friends, because it makes sense, right? Initially, it's like you've got your list or your criteria, and then it's like, oh, okay. So the more you get to know someone, you find out, yeah, someone who's a friend might actually be more. Okay, keep going. I think there's some interest on his end, but I'm not 100% sure. While traveling outside of the country about a month ago, he called me on video and took me for a walk around the beach area. Even though we connected about a year ago, that was the first time we'd ever had a video call. Cool. I love video calls. We used to talk on the phone, audio only, and text, but it was so nice to see him in real time. He complimented me on that call, and I could feel the connection. We haven't been in touch since then. Okay, so that's been about a month, and I haven't reached out to him, partly because I think I just wanted to hear from him. Prior to his trip, we had planned to meet when I'm close to his own town. I'm planning to head there sometime this summer as he offered to show me around. I'm not sure he knows of my interest, so I don't even know what my question is, but I guess I wonder if I'm being in any way self-sabotaging by remaining quiet and seeing if he'll come up, or if he will come to me. Thank you. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So I understand this. So you want to hear from him. So you're not really saying anything. So here's what's happening. I'm sure that he thinks this is good, exactly the way it is. Like going a month without talking to him. Yeah, Star, you're playing my game. This is what I used to do. I would just, the stories I could tell you about how this led me to, yeah, some really interesting situations. Okay. So yeah, not talking, not like going along, right? Like just not acting like you want more, acting, pretending you're kind of content, or just not reaching out, right? Because you want him to come to you. So two things. One, I think the fact that he isn't coming to you more and that he thinks that you're content here also shows that I do think that this is his level of contentment too. So I think you are right about that. I think both of you are, yeah, I think you're right. I think this is probably good for him. And I think that is purposely also why you're picking up on the fact that you probably don't want to say more, right? Or reach out more. So what I would say, so yeah. So do you see this? Like on the one hand, I think you're reading the situation correctly, and that's why you're not being direct and saying you want more, or communicating about this, because you do want him to come to you, and you are reading him correctly because you aren't getting more from him. So on the one hand, I agree that this is probably good, because if you were being more direct with him, if you were saying to him that, if you were saying, I miss you, or hey, I haven't seen you in a while. If you were coming across to him like you're looking for more, I think he would be disappearing pretty quick. So, yes, you are sensing that he's fine without reaching out. I do think this. I do. Because when we think, okay, well, I have a right to reach out to him, or I could, or I'm really just dying to see, does he want anything more? Would he be interested in more? And when we usually break the silence, or we break the pattern that we've set up, and we reach out, then usually you get that confirmation that yes, you were correct, and you did not speak up directly because you were reading the situation right. It would have ended things faster. It would have, right? Because it would have accelerated it, and then he would see that, yeah, you are interested in something more faster than he is. So, but at the same time, what you're doing now is going to keep you stuck here for the most part, because it doesn't give this a chance to be more. So this is what you have to weigh, Star. This is what you need to weigh. You have to weigh whether or not accelerating this a little bit by just upping the contact, or just accelerating a little bit. You have to see if this friend zone kind of a relationship can handle that. Because if he can't handle any acceleration, I do think that would be beneficial for you to see that, so that you would know where things are. You would have it confirmed for you. But at the same time, is it worth losing him? Because if you do accelerate, you could lose him. I think that's an important thing for you to understand. If you do accelerate this, if you do reach out more, want to talk, I mean, so a month you talked. Am I reading this correctly? So that was about a month ago? So that was about a month ago when he called you on video. He took you a walk around the beach area. Yeah. So yeah, it is very much so. So this is my thing. If a guy can go a month without talking to you, like I said, this sounds like something I was in. This sounds very much like this is his contentment level. I mean, obviously, so this is what you have to weigh. This is what you have to weigh. Is it worth accelerating a little bit so that you get clarification? Or do you really value having him in your life at all? In which case, you might want to stay here. That's it. But stay here without any, delusions that you're in a relationship with him, because you're not in a relationship with him at all. At all. This is simply a guy that you talk to once a month. You go on this, cute little beach walk. Sounds fun. But I mean, that's it. That's it. And this is interesting. You say prior to him coming, or prior to his trip. Okay, so so prior to his trip where you walked around on the beach, right? Not in person, through FaceTiming, right? So prior to him going to the beach, you had planned to meet when you were close to his town, because you were planning to head to his town somewhere this summer, and he offered to show you around. So that is so clear. It's your words here where you said that you plan to meet when you were close to his town. So this is what we talked about with someone coming to see you. You're going to see him. This is so clear. You're going to see him. This is not in any way about him making any effort to see you. The only reason you planned to meet was because you're coming to his town, because you were heading there anytime anyway. And so he says, I'll show you around. Okay. I know his twin, unfortunately. So, okay. And yeah, he'd want to see you early on when you first matched. Clearly that's not happening now. Okay. So here's what I would say. Yeah, exactly. I agree. I would say no at the time too. And I would not count that much, because honestly, someone who wants to see you early on is looking to see you to know if you are attractive to him, if he's attractive to you, if there's an attraction there. So that's totally normal. So I don't see that as any big deal. So when you say he wanted to see you early on, I don't see that as being, oh, well, that means, that meant something. I don't see that. I do not see that at all. So the way I'm looking at this literally is that I don't think you have much here. If you want to hang on to this because it feels good, because I also recognize it can feel good to know you've got someone out there, and you never know if they might reach out more, right? So if that means a lot to you, if you really like that feeling, and you want to keep that, then you can keep doing this. But if you actually want more than that, I honestly, I think this idea that you'd be meeting up with him just because you're close to his town, that just is not going to be representative of what is actually going on here. So what that will only show you is that when it's convenient for him, when you come to him, when basically you literally trip into his town and trip over him, then he'll show you around, which takes zero effort on his part. So I'm not good with that, because that is no declaration of how he feels about you. So what I would do with this literally is I would reach out a little more, because nothing is going to change with doing this. I don't see it happening. Even if you go, because I've seen this too, even if you go there because you're there, it's convenient. That shows nothing. It just doesn't. You guys might have a wonderful time together, and it still will not prove anything. So I don't see that being enough at all. So if you're holding up that as kind of being, well, we'll see what happens because I'm going to be going there anyway, I don't see that getting you any closer to any of this. So I think, just reach out a little bit, test the waters. If you reach out a little bit more, let's see if there's any pickup on his end. If there isn't, and it's all you will have absolutely confirmed what I think you will be confirming, which is you have called this right, you have picked up on this, but the feeling of hope here, or the feeling of, or that feeling of kind of keeping it, the guessing here, or just keep it, that has been, that feeling is what has felt good. But in terms of a relationship, there hasn't been anything there, nothing more. And I think you're going to find that out. Does that make sense? Because that's what I would do. That's where I would go with this. Okay. Um, good. Yeah. Okay, good. Okay, and then okay. So the last one here that I'm going to get to, and then I'm going to go to the chat real quick. Um, Barbara, Barbara, are you here? Okay, Barbara, if you're here, I'm your turn. Thanks for waiting. I have got yours here because Barbara says that Barbara says I've been dating a man for 7 months. He still can't say he loves me. Lately, I'm wanting to end the relationship because it's not what I'd hoped for, and I really want marriage and children. I'm 36 years old. I need someone who adores me. 3 weeks ago, I asked him where he was at, and he said he hadn't spent enough time with me to fall in love. I was literally just talking to someone yesterday on a call about this exact same thing, but she wasn't you. Okay, so you got a twin out there, Barbara, someone identical in this exact same situation. Well, you probably actually have a lot. It's just this one was so similar, and I just talked to her yesterday, so it's all fresh. He said he hadn't spent enough time with me to fall in love. Okay, so I'm going to tell you what I told her. This is going to be easy. I was so angry because he hasn't tried to spend more time with me. I told him I want to end the relationship, but we kind of talked through it, and he said he will be different. Since then, he's put in more effort, and I definitely feel the difference, but it's still not what I want. I feel like he hardly initiates sex, and we hardly see each other because we live 2 hours away from each other. There are many good aspects of our relationship, so I'm somewhat attached, but I feel like I could never settle for this. It's not the grand love I was hoping for. I did do your course 5 years ago, and I attracted the most amazing man that I stayed with for over a year. But I wasn't attracted enough to him, so I left. And now I'm rewatching your course again to get into that same energy that attracted the other guy. But this time I'm making sure I honor my desire to have more of an attraction. This man I am attracted to, and he is sweet and caring in many ways, but him taking so long with saying I love you is hard. I realized I chased him too much in the beginning. I pushed him to make things official, but I've just resented how long he's taking. I know deep down I have to leave. I literally can't take it anymore. What can I do to believe that I can both have attraction and passion and compatibility? Okay, Barbara. Well, first of all, I want to say this. I want to say this real quick, okay? You don't have to completely give up on this guy. All you need to do is recognize that the resentment is killing this relationship. Whatever it is, whatever is possible, I would not give up yet on this. Because what I told the woman I talked to yesterday was it's all about your energy and it's all about the tone. Okay. And as long as there is resentment, this cannot work. It can't, because you're resenting all of this and you're feeling like you're settling. It's not the grand love you're hoping for. All of these things. Okay. So what I want you to do instead is I want your energy to be different, because that is the number one thing. I want you first to just like give just all of the pressure and everything. What did I tell her? I said like 2 or 3 weeks. Like give it like 2 or 3 weeks here to just let that other old energy go away. And so just have some fun and just lighten up of this intensity that you're feeling for just like 2 or 3 weeks, just temporarily. Okay. Because I want to see if this might work, because I've seen this change everything. Because it is not, when he's saying he hasn't spent enough time with you to fall in love, he doesn't mean that. He's just pulling up anything he can to just get him out of this cycle. Okay. He just doesn't want to have to feel this pressure. So he's saying that just because of that. So what we want here is we just want to give him a little bit of time to just have fun. You just want to have fun with him again. Okay. Because the fastest way to get him to be who he has been, and to, I mean, I think this guy probably, I think this guy probably wants to have, he probably wants to marry you and have kids, right? I mean, you've already obviously gotten this far. You've had conversation. I really think it's the anger and the resentment that's killing this. And I'm not faulting you because you have every right to be angry and resentful, because the problem is you are basically, yeah, I mean, this sounds so much. I mean, even the sex thing, right? Like he's hardly initiating this. This is so classic because what's happening is all he feels is pressure, 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 pressure. So if you can just go into the lighter, just lighter stage temporarily. I don't know if this is going to work with him, but I have seen it work and it's worked amazingly when it works. So you're so right. It is about the energy. And if you can just shift to where, um, if you can take the pressure off of him for like 2 to 3 weeks to just change this tone and this energy that you guys have, you may have a chance of just having a direct conversation. So this is what I told her, okay? At some point, what you're wanting is a direct conversation where you're saying something like, dude, I am not getting any younger here. Dude, I want to have like kids and the family and like I'm wanting all this and like, bro, if you're gonna take longer to make up your mind, I mean, how long do you want me to wait? I mean, like at some point, a girl's got to do what a girl's got to do. I mean, so I want you to know where I'm at because realistically, right now, you're it, and I'm not cheating on you. I'm not going off with someone else, but dude, I gotta, I I'm not getting any younger, and I'd love us to be able to move on to the next phase. Do you see how the energy of that? Because this is what I was trying to relay to the woman I was talking to yesterday. Is that the biggest part of this is it's the it's the direct, clear owning your desire. Like you want to have a baby. You want it before it's too late, before you're running out of time or you're too, you've gotten older and all of that, right? So you want to communicate that, but you want to do it in like a lighthearted way. And I know that is so hard because all you're feeling is resentment and anger. Like this guy, it's been 7 months you've wasted with him already, right? And you pushed him into it. And so I guess because if this guy, I mean, the fact you say this guy's like a good guy and he's a nice guy and all that, and you're attracted to him, I just think there's something to salvage here before you move on to someone else. So that's, I'm going to move on. But Barbara, I think there's something you could salvage. Your conversation here, your email is identical to this conversation I just had. And I have seen this work because literally the pressure, she literally told me everything I tried to tell her about what he was going through and what his perspective was. She said that he had told her identically the same thing. So it's that balance between you being direct with and owning that. There is a change, there's a shift in that energy when it is you owning it as opposed to putting it on him and blaming him. And that is the energy I want you to capture, the difference between the two, so that it is not about you blaming him. It is not about why this is all his fault and how he's doing this to you. And you are the victim here because he is doing something to you that makes him feel so bad. This is not about any of that. This is about you owning the fact that you have chosen to be with him and you love this guy, and he might not communicate things in the same way that you do, but you guys are on the same page and compatible. That's the energy. But at the same time, if you can't do that, I mean, then that is telling you you're with someone who, you may not be compatible with in the end. But I guess I see a last ditch salvage effort here being possible. Okay. And that's what I don't want you to lose. All right, Barbara. Okay. I think that's it. Did I get, oh, hang on 1 second here. Julianne, I got to get to yours real quick. And then Erica, I'm coming for you. And anyone else, put them up in the chat and I will answer them real quick. So Julianne wrote to me, I didn't want to miss you. Julianne said, my question, or should I say my worry is I've worked so hard to get to the place I am today to love and cherish myself that I'm totally scared to let someone in. I How do I get to open up without being scared? I don't want to hurt again. Okay, Julianne. I will say that makes it really hard because when you have been hurt, it is really scary to let someone, not hard in that this is impossible or there's no hope or anything. I just mean it is really hard when you have just been hurt and you've had this happen to you. That is really difficult. So what I would just say to you is when you feel the fear, okay, that you could get hurt again, I just want you to remind yourself there are no guarantees in love, in commitment, in marriage, in anything. There are no guarantees. We're all in the same boat. None of us know absolutely for sure, ironclad, that we are not going to hurt because we put our hearts out there and we love. Okay? None of us know that. None of us have confirmation that that is going to not happen to us. Okay? Loving is always taking a chance. There are always risks inherent in loving, and your heart being broken is one of them. Okay. But what you can do is you can minimize those risks. And what you can do is look at the fact that you can wait until you have more confirmation from someone that they are on the same page as you. You can look at who they are. You can look for consistent good behavior over time, like I talked about. You can do everything you can to wait, to rush in, to wait, to give your heart away until you have as much confirmation as you possibly can in the time that you're willing to wait for someone to give you that confirmation. That they are on the same page as you, that they are compatible with you. And again, it is that good behavior consistently over time. Okay. So I think it's just acknowledging if you're in this, if you're a loving, caring, giving person, there are risks. And there is something, though, so beautiful that happens when you embrace that. When you recognize, I am not a person who's going to harden my heart. I am not a person who's going to be locked up, who's going to become cold. I am not going to let my fear keep me from the hope that I can be with someone and find someone. I am not going to do that, but I'm going to own every part of this. I'm going to own the part of me that has hope still, that hasn't had the hope, knocked out of me, that I am still the part of me that recognizes I love people. I love. I want to be in love. I want to feel love. There's some power in owning that is like just, it's an energy again. It just propels you forward and it looks out for you. I mean, it just guides you. Your energy will just, because there's power, right? That's ownership. It's not the scared. It's feeling that. It's recognizing there are no guarantees and it's proceeding anyway. That's courage. Like that's real strength. Okay. So I think that is something like get into that. Like personify that. Okay. That energy. Like that is you. Feel that. And then do what you can to mitigate the risks by knowing who you've got, by being clear, so clear about what you're looking for, and then by embracing more. It's like go back and listen to what I said to Marianne, because go back to becoming like this full you person with all of you. Bring all of you along, because there is something about owning every part of you that just, again, it's courage, it's strength. It's just saying, you know what? I'm going to go forward. I'm going to keep putting myself out there, even if, even if there's risks involved, and not putting yourself out there, blindly, but recognizing that, I'm going to hold out. I'm going to stay curious. Go back to the flirting thing. Back up to that. I had this whole part where I talk about flirting, and someone asked how to flirt without chasing. And I talked about that. Okay. So go back to that. And yeah, that's what I would do. Okay. All right. And then I just saw as I went to Julie and Jessica. Real quick, Jessica. Oh, Jessica, you're going to give me a long one, aren't you? Okay, Jessica, I'm going to rush through this one too real quick because I know I'm going to hear from you tomorrow morning. I hope I hear from you tomorrow morning and you tell me you listen to the replay while you're driving to work. or driving somewhere. And I love hearing from you. Okay. Hi, Jane. Jessica writes, thank you for giving me this opportunity to send in a question. I value your feedback. I've taken your advice prior and was really beginning to feel great. I did the unthinkable recently after 9 months of an on and off contact with my ex. I blocked him a few months ago and I started building my life. I recently got weak and unblocked him. To my surprise, he had sent a text and called to see if I was okay. During the time we weren't speaking, I did reach out to him to meet and get together a few times, to only be met with excuses. I gave up and I blocked him. Fast forward to the unblocking, and we began slowly texting each day and phone calls. We then agreed to meet last week after not seeing him for 9 months. He came over, and right at that moment, it was about intimacy. He asked if I'd been on dates in between our absence. I was honest, and I said one dinner date. He told me he'd brought a girl on a friendly date, and she met his parents. It so happened to be his neighbor. We lived 45 minutes apart, and I remember seeing her walk by with her dog. I had a bad feeling then. I was hurt. After he left my place after a few hours, a comment that sticks with me, as he had said, is, I think we both needed that, as he hugged me goodbye. Fast forward to now, we've argued over the neighbor via text. That's really hard to get out of your mind. I understand that. I had suggested we meet over this weekend, to which I was met with more excuses again. We're back to him not calling me and not texting. My mind keeps wandering, asking myself what fun weekend he may be having and possibly with the neighbor, and I was just used as a second resort sexually. Jane, I spent over 3 years with this man, and now I feel like I was used. I went from girlfriend to this, but why do I still love this person? Okay, well, you love this person because that's who we are, and you can refer back to what I said to Marianne. You love him because you love the idea of him, the fantasy, it's the memory. I mean, the memories and the fact that you had 3 years and you remember the good times. And I mean, those are all the reasons why. I mean, you love this person because you're you and you care and all that. Okay. I guess my question is this thing with the neighbor completely done with? I mean, is he still seeing the neighbor? Because you're saying we're back to him not calling and texting. My mind keeps wanting to ask what, yeah, I mean, if he's not calling you, I mean, let me be clear. He's not calling you and he's not texting you because he doesn't want you to call him out. Okay. So I think, Jessica, here's what I'm going to tell you. You need to either accept him for who he is within your own boundaries here. Okay. Or you need to just be done with him. Because if you cannot accept the fact that he has exhibited some imperfect behavior in the past, and so he went on a date with his neighbor, you went on a dinner date, you both went on a date. Now, the one thing, so here's what I would say. I know it was hard not to, but what is hard is you guys started off reconnecting by having sex, and that is just so hard because you're going to get caught up in, this is how it was and it feels good. And it was you were together for 3 years and you miss him. And so it's going to feel like it's the right thing to do, or it's going to feel like, how can I not? And you might get some hope that it'll rekindle this and he'll be excited again about you or whatever. I know. But this is what's hard, is because you had sex with him, you've gone kind of in that direction to where you're thinking about him and that this meant more to you, more to him, and all this. And so, yes, you're feeling like you were used because you jumped into that. And that's the hardest part. But I understand it completely. But I think that is what you're feeling, is that you jumped into it. And so you're going to feel used from this. So what I'm going to say here is it's all the pressure. If you want to try, if you want one last ditch effort here, then what I would do is I would be direct and honest. It's not like, you've got 3 years with him. You guys can talk to each other about anything. It's not like it's just new. So what I would do is I would tell him, look, we jumped into this too soon. I would just tell him, just say it. We jumped into this too soon. I was excited to hear from you, and we jumped into bed and we shouldn't have, because I wasn't ready for that. But now this feels awful because now, we thought about your neighbor, and I felt really insecure about your neighbor because your neighbor, or whatever you felt, But here we are back to you not calling and not texting, and I'm going to end up blocking you again. And this is here. So, let's, and then this feels awful to him, so say that to him. Say that to him. Tell him that, because this is not working. This is not working. And for you to now go again to, going back to where you're going to block him again, you're going to go through all this again, and you're going to be right back here. So what I would do is I would literally I would change this, because you're going to be back. So be direct with him. Tell him what you're feeling. Tell him this, and then move on from there. Okay. Lolly, I forgot you. And Lolly, you're here. Okay, Lolly, I'm going to answer yours super quick. Lolly wrote, "Hi Jane, I've recently met a man about over a month ago. He's a good guy, very reliable." Okay, I was excited when I read this, Lolly. "We've been spending some time together. He wants us to get to know each other on a deeper level. He says he likes me and he's developing feelings for me. I feel the same way too. The only issue I have is that he's 10 years younger than me. I just don't know how I can get past the age thing. And I have kids, and he doesn't. He says he doesn't mind that I do. His actions are telling me he doesn't. He does what he says he will do. I want to give him a chance. It's only the age issue I'm worried about." Okay, if it's only the age issue, I'm not worried about it. It took me months. There was a woman I was coaching for months who met a guy who was 10 years younger. They're married now. And I literally spent those months with her, helping her get her head around the fact that he was 10 years younger, but he was the best match for her. And I had coached her through all of these guys who were the right age, who had the careers, who had everything that she thought she should be with. These men were the worst men. They treated her the worst of any man. And she was finally with this guy who was 10 years younger, who was perfect for her and everything. And like I said, they're married. They got married a year and a half ago, I think, or last year. Anyway, they're doing great. So I will tell you this: if it is just age, then you definitely need to get past the age thing. This guy didn't have kids either. Okay. But if there's something more than age, and Lolly, my concern with you with this is that there's something more with the age. I want to, if it is just age, give him the benefit of the doubt here. Okay. Let's just see where this goes. It's only been a little over a month. And if you're saying he's a good guy and reliable, just remind yourself of all the stories, because this is just one. I could tell you so many other stories of women who have been so surprised because the guy's younger, but it's such a better match. So what I would say is just give him more time. Wait at least until my next live, okay? And I'll answer then. You give me an update then, okay? But just give him a chance for like another while. Okay, he needs some more time, because it doesn't matter. This is so similar to what I've seen and heard and seen really good results with. But if it's more than that, then that's something else. Okay, so at least till next time. Okay. All right. Sue, one last thing, because you said in here your daughter hates you. She told you that. Okay, I just want to say real quick, Sue, I don't know if you're on here real quick. I just want to say to you, meet your daughter where she's at. Meet her where she's at. Ask her. Ask her what she, meet her where she's at. Don't expect her to come to you. Okay? It's your job to go to her. Go to her. You can't make your daughter have a relationship with you by shaming her or guilting her into sharing with you. I speak to you as a daughter, okay? And I speak to you as someone who coaches a lot of daughters who have narcissist moms. I'm not saying you're that at all. I'm saying I coach a lot of women who have narcissist moms. And I will tell you that the problem why they don't share is because that the mother guilts and shames them every time. And it is so subconscious. Their moms deny that if they ever are able to be strong enough to confront them. Okay. But you have to meet her in her world. Do not say her housekeeper. Do not say your housekeeper knows more about your life than me. You are guilting and shaming her there. And I say this so lovingly because I never want your daughter to hate you. I never, mother and daughter relationships that are in turmoil are like, are like my heart. Okay. So don't, you shamed her. You guilted her and you shamed her. You did this thing that all these women talk to me about their moms of all different ages. Um, they say like their mom says things like this. So this thing here saying her housekeeper, when you said her housekeeper knows more about your life than me, okay? That is not how you relate to her. That's not how you get her to share more. That's not how you enter and you have more of a relationship with her. That's not how you get her to have more of a relationship, okay? You have to meet her where she is. And you have to say, so in this case, you what you could say to her is, hey, how's the pick one thing that you would like to know more about and say, hey, how's that going? Ask her that. Do not guilt or shame her. You can build a relationship back with her. I've seen it. um, but you have to go to her, and you can't stay on the I'm devastated. You can feel I'm devastated and you can say that, but you can't get stuck on the I'm devastated, because she is simply reacting to that guilt and shame, which is, again, I understand where you're coming from, because this is where most moms have been this is the programming of, we were guilted and shamed, now it's our turn, and when we have daughters we guilt and shame them into a relationship, but it never works. Okay. And it's heartbreaking. So anyway, I just wanted to answer that. You meet her where she's at, ask her specific questions. One question, just one. Okay. And just say, hey, I was thinking about you with that. How was that for you? That she can answer. There's no shaming and guilting there. All right. Okay. Now I really am done. I just saw that I was signing off there. Um, okay. Now, Erica, who repeated that, thank you. So I have to scroll all the way up again. How was I able to become so strong after the heartbreak that I went through? How was I able to become so okay? Yeah. And I mean, heartbreak, every single man broke my heart. Every single man. And there were so many. I believed every time. I hoped every time they weren't going to be. Yeah, heartbreak was awful. How was I able to become so strong? You know what? I avoided. Finally, I recognized it wasn't me. I would tell you, that is the one thing that turned everything around. I blamed myself I beat myself up after every single one of them. I blamed myself after every single heartbreak. Everything was always this tortuous exercise in going back and looking at everything that I had done to mess that one up and mess this. And if only I hadn't said this, if only I hadn't said like the specific word, or if only I hadn't called that one time, if only I hadn't cried that one time, if only I hadn't spoke up that one time, if only, everything revolved around me and what I had done wrong. And the way that I was able to become, so I had to literally become strong. There had to be some reason to find strength, right? So everything that I was beating myself up about was everything that was so wrong about me. There was no strength, like there was nothing to be strong about. There was just, I'm all wrong. I did everything wrong. I messed up. I'm all wrong. I did this. I did that. I'll never get it right. And then picking apart my behavior, every single one of my actions. So what I had to do is I had to go and be around people and places and activities and surround myself with people and places and things that ignited an energy in me that wasn't beat yourself up energy, you're all wrong energy. So literally, I mean, the biggest, what I credit for meeting someone who was healthier, like meeting my husband, was a couple of things. I moved to a different place, so that changed up my energy, right? Because for me, I needed to be somewhere different. If I was going to feel something different, I could not do it being surrounded by everything that reminded me of everything that I had already done wrong. So for me, who I feel energy so powerfully, I had to go somewhere different. That's what did it for me. You don't have to do that. If you can't do that, if it's not an option, you don't have to do that. Lots of people don't have to do that. I needed to do that. You can switch up other things. So what I did is when I moved somewhere different, what I also did is I started to create a new identity for myself, which was, what did I want to be? I wanted to be more fun loving. I wanted to be more, and this is what I was talking about with Marianne and someone else there. What I talk with most of you about, I wanted to create something different. I wanted to have a new identity that embraced all sides of me because I recognize I'm choosing all these wrong men. So in order to become strong, I had to carve out an identity for myself that garnered the strength instead of just the beating myself up. Something is wrong with me energy, which wasn't getting me anywhere. So I had to create something different. And how I did that, I literally had to peel off all these layers of the weight of everyone else, right? Like what everyone else thought of me, what everyone else's opinions, the image of the perfect Jane that I was supposed to be, all of this. I had to take all of those layers and peel them away to find out, okay, who am I? And I went back to, and this can seem cliche, right? But I went back to the little girl who I used to be before I learned that I was supposed to be something different. And I looked at, okay, who was she? What did she want to do? That girl had energy. That girl was someone who could do stuff and who believed in things, who had strength before she was told it was unfeminine or unbecoming to her or not ladylike or not whatever I was supposed to be to have this strong energy or to be fun loving and to be strong and to whatever these things were, right? So I had to take this identity and decide, what of my old identity did I want to keep? What did I want to get rid of that was never mine, but that was put on me? And then, what did I want my life to become? What did I want my life to look like now? And you can do this at any age, but it requires tapping into that part of you. And I talk about this in my beautiful, radiant, confident you program. It's about going back. There's a bunch of exercise. There's so many exercises and prompts to bring you into this part of you that I did. That is my journey in there, where I go back and you go back and you carve her out again, find her again, carve out the life that you were always meant to live. You can do this at any age. And if you want to become younger, that's how you do it. So literally that is what I credit with it. I changed things up. I did something different. I decided I wanted to see and be and experience a different life because my life was not working for me. And so, and then it was just building. It was being around people who changed my energy. It was people who accepted me, people who embraced me. There was no man yet. I still made mistakes with different men. But what I did do was I recognized the value of friends and the value of people that I'd come into contact with, different things that you can do, different activities, different, activism and different volunteer work, all these different things. I found myself around people who had a different energy than just these men that I was used to. And that was it. So it's changing something and doing something different with that. Okay. I hope that answers that, Erica. And then, okay. How do you let a man you're dating? I'm not sure how to pronounce your name, Chirata on here. So I'm just going to answer your question. How do you let a man know you're dating? How do you let a man you're dating know it's hard to kiss him because he has bad breath? Okay. So what I would suggest is the subtle way first. Kind of close to what Erica said. So I'm going to say that you bring out the breath mints and you have one and you give one to him. So you take one and you give one to him, because basically what that's saying subtly is that you want to have fresh breath and you want him to too. So you're both fresh breathing it. Okay. You're both in it together. Same with losing weight. This is a perfect thing. I have someone who has a guy, they want to lose weight and exercise. So you take that initiative, you lose weight and exercise. You set up the meal planning. You set up the gym membership, or you put it on your calendars. You do what you want him to do. Do it together. Men will come along. If you're doing it together and it doesn't make them feel like there's something wrong with them, they'll come along and do it. Okay. So yeah, that's exactly it. Do it for you and what you do for him too. Okay. And I think I answered the ones on here. Yes, it was that movie. You got that confirmation. Okay. And hi, 3J. I'm going to talk to you soon on your free coaching call. I can't wait. If you bought my beautiful Confident Radiant You program and you have not done your free coaching session at the end of that where I meet you, let me know. I will resend you the calendar link if you didn't get it or if you can't find it. That's my beautiful Confident Radiant You program. That's everything I did to change my life and find my husband and literally change my life. That was my journey, and I'll meet you at the end with a call. Okay. You can go to gettingtotruelove.com for all of my email coaching and my programs. I've got a Why Men Pull Away where I will take the blame off of you and you will understand why he pulls away, and you will understand finally it has nothing to do with you. Okay, you can get that all on my website. And then please subscribe to my channel so that you will be notified of my lives and when I post anything else on here. Yeah, and make sure you watch my video on I Dated Billy from Stranger Things, because that was a jaw-dropping moment when I was catching up on that show with my my kids were catching up on it with my husband, and I happened to walk past that, and oh my God, that guy, I was like, that's Billy. And Billy, yeah, Billy was just the exact spitting image of my guy. So watch that, because that's a really cute one I did, because I was just shocked. That was the guy that started all of this, my Billy. The exact image of him. I've actually looked him up now, and wow, yeah, he looks very different now. So anyway, if you haven't watched that video, check that out, because I created it as kind of a fun one. That's very different, and I thought it was kind of interesting because most of the ones who watched it was funny, because when I first posted it, I was getting all these views, and some of the questions on there sounded like my son, and I remember looking at the analytics for that and discovering that I had captured the attention of the majority. I think it was like how many, like 75% of my viewers on that were the 17 to 25-year-old boys, men. So anyway, it was kind of funny. I felt like my son's older friends could have been watching that. But anyway, yeah. So thanks for being here. I hope I was able to answer your questions, and for everyone who's who was here, I'm so glad that you guys were able to come on here, and you kept me on here for almost 3 hours again. It's crazy. I'm like, this time I'm going to go fast. I'm going to get through these, and I'm going to get more, because I had so many more of these on here. And so I can't, I love being here with you. So thanks, you guys. Thanks, Erica, Star. Yeah, I love you guys. This is like my magical time with you. So obviously it's hard to keep me to a time limit on here. So, all right, you guys take care. Have a great night. Have a great day wherever you are. If you're in daytime, if you're in nighttime, thanks for being here. We'll do it all again soon. Keep watching your emails and all that. And thanks for being here. I love you guys. You are, don't let anyone tell you you're not all that. Don't let anyone put all this stuff on you. Don't let anyone define you. You are who you are, okay? And I don't care how old you are. For those of you who've used terminology like old maid or, whatever words you've to describe yourselves, okay, don't do that. Don't do that. I talk to women every day in their 20s and 30s who think that they are old and done. And I talk to women in their 50s and 60s and 70s. Oh, good. I'm glad you liked it, Erica. I've talked to women in their 50s, 60s, and 70s who literally are like rediscovering their lives and rediscovering who they are all over again. Okay. So it's never too late. Change your words, change your terms. You are not an old maid. You are not old and dried up and whatever else you want to call yourself. Okay. You're not any of that. All you need is someone to see you, someone to believe in you, and it doesn't matter who this guy might be that you have your heart set on, that everything has to be about this guy, because there are so many sparkly helpers out there, and there are so many people out there who will love you. It doesn't have to look like the guy in the package that you're expecting. You can find your you first. You can find and discover who you are and get that confidence and have someone who believes in you first. And then all kinds of things are possible. Okay. Start with you. Start with finding the people who you're meant to be with, and start by eliminating anyone who should never even be anywhere close to you, because they're not your person. They're not your people. We are not here to make someone see our worthy. We're not here to prove that we are worthy to anyone. Okay. Whatever that person, whatever that email I answered from that beautiful woman who was experiencing that and wondering and feeling hope that he might have seen her value. Girl, we're not here to have someone see our value. We're not here to prove our value, to prove our worth. You are here for one reason and one reason only, and that is to be every bit as much a part of the whole you, all of you. And whoever shows up, whoever happens to see that and loves that part of you and is looking for that, okay, bring them on in. But the ones who aren't, they got to go. All right, I got to go. I'll see you guys soon. You take care. And yeah, I love you. Take care. I believe in you.